Giant glowing gears begin to turn with a loud creak. A radiant golden light bursts through the dark magic. High up in a heavenly hall, God King Arthur sits upon his throne. Arthur sternly announces that the crucial time has finally arrived. Winged divine beings assemble below his high seat. Armored heavenly warriors stand ready for their leader's command. Fierce champions wielding crackling red lightning prepare for battle. Arthur reaches out his hand to focus his magic. Golden magic swirls around Arthur as his eyes light up. Arthur extends his hand forward to unleash his mighty power. A white-haired god blows a massive war horn to signal the start of the ultimate battle. The horn sound echoes through the sky as winged soldiers soar across the battlefield. Armored knights ride terrifying beasts through the air, heading straight into war. On the ground, massive horned beasts march forward with giant weapons in hand. Giant wolves and dark-armored soldiers join the army, shaking the earth with every step. Undead knights with glowing eyes advance in tight formation toward the city. Monstrous giants stomp through the battlefield, ready to crush anything in their path. Winged warriors fly over a burning human city as total destruction spreads everywhere. Arrows rain down from above, taking out helpless people on the frozen ground. Cruel monsters slash through survivors, leaving blood scattered all over the snow. Wounded human victims collapse in agony as the horrific battle claims countless lives. A monstrous beast growls aggressively, breathing heavy, hot air as it zeroes in on innocent civilians. The giant horned monster stomps heavily across the destroyed modern city with glowing red eyes. A horde of armored monster soldiers marches right behind the massive giant in the snowfall. The giant monster effortlessly lifts a massive stone pillar above its head to hurl at everyone. It smashes the giant pillar into the street, causing mass panic as fleeing citizens scream in fear. The brutal attack causes massive destruction everywhere, leaving no safe place for anyone to hide. A terrified mother tightly hugs young Arthur, desperately trying to shield her son from the danger. Realizing they cannot both survive, the mother's eyes fill with fear and determination. She suddenly shoves young Arthur forward with all her strength to save his life. Arthur tumbles across the cold ground, sliding away from the dangerous collapse right behind him. Giant rocks crash down violently from above, burying the spot where Arthur was just standing. Ellen lies trapped under heavy fallen boulders, bleeding badly onto the cold ground. Young Arthur grabs his mother's arm, trembling with fear as tears fill his eyes. The terrified boy cries out that a dangerous monster is charging straight toward them. Ellen looks up at Arthur and desperately begs him to run away without her. Behind them, an armored undead soldier with glowing eyes brandishes a deadly sword. The terrifying warrior looms over Ellen as she urges her son to stay alive. The monstrous creature lets out a fierce roar, ready to strike Ellen down. Ellen watches in utter terror, helpless as the death blow approaches. Suddenly, a mysterious armored figure holding a sharp blade appears nearby. The dark warrior leaps straight down from a high ledge to intervene. The monster brings its huge sword around, attempting to crush its victim. A sudden, blinding slash cuts down through the cold air to strike the monster. A powerful slash cuts straight into the armored monster's body. The heavy strike connects with tremendous force, breaking through its armor. The attacker twirls his weapon through the air to set up another hit. His blade sweeps downward in a fast and lethal arc. Another slice cuts deep across the giant creature's chest. The monster's glowing eyes flicker as it completely loses its power. A massive wave of bright golden energy bursts across the snow. The hooded hero spins with fiery energy wings, obliterating his target. The monster crashes heavily onto the ground right in front of a shocked Arthur. Surrounded by dark aura, the hooded warrior Blake turns back toward them. Blake tells Arthur to head back toward where his allies are waiting. Glowing magical light surrounds Ellen, instantly easing her pain and healing her injuries. Ellen hugs Arthur tightly, relieved to be safe in Blake's presence. Arthur excitedly points out Blake, recognizing him as the mysterious black-robed warrior. Blake offers a friendly smile under his hood as he looks at Arthur. Blake pulls down his hood and prepares to take on the enemy horde. Deep rumbles echo across the snow as endless monsters begin to assemble. Blake turns away from the survivors to confront the terrifying wave of beasts. The vicious monsters snarl angrily as they prepare to swarm the lone fighter. Blake smiles confidently while intense flames burst to life around him. Surrounded by blazing fire, Blake gets ready to unleash his full power. A massive horned demon roars wildly, leading the beastly army into battle. Fiendish wolves and dark creatures rush forward all at once to attack. Blake sets his blade ablaze with brilliant fire, ready to slice through the swarm. A giant beast lunges forward with wide-open jaws, trying to devour Blake. Blake smirks calmly before delivering a swift, flaming strike right through the monster. He spins around with ease, sweeping his blazing sword in a wide arc. The massive, fiery attack explodes across the ground, wiping out a huge horde. More monstrous creatures roar angrily and charge toward him from every direction. An armored beast thrusts a giant, heavy sword straight toward Blake. Blake raises his gauntlet, charging up magical energy with a bright flash. A massive burst of icy magic erupts, blast freezing the battlefield instantly. Blake moves like lightning through the frozen air, cutting down enemies effortlessly. He steps forward calmly as heavily armored beastmen try to surround him. A fierce monster glares viciously with glowing eyes and sharp bared teeth. Blake slashes past the creature in a flash before it can even react. Blake slices through an armored beast with a brilliant arc of fire from his sword. He stays completely focused as his flaming blade cleaves another enemy in half. More feral wolves charge at him, but Blake effortlessly slashes through them all. Suddenly, a giant horned demon holding a massive boulder looms directly over Blake. Blake leaps high into the sky, dodging the giant beast with incredible speed. He dives back down straight toward the towering demon from above. The massive demon tenses his huge arm, preparing to smash the incoming warrior. Blake spins in midair, charging powerful magic into a deadly kick. The monstrous demon snarls fiercely as Blake brings down a fiery sword attack. Their powerful collision creates a massive explosion of swirling magic and fire. Golden arcs of fiery energy cut through the battlefield with immense force. Blake glides through the air, completely calm as he prepares his next lethal blow. Blake slashes cleanly through the giant demon with a fiery sword strike. He lands smoothly on the ground as energy sweeps around him. The battlefield erupts in fire and darkness as the demon collapses. Blake stands surrounded by a dark aura after finishing off his foe. Behind him, an ancient sacred throne shines with divine, radiant light. Blake looks ahead with a glowing golden eye and a confident smile. An old king wearing a crown stares back with a matching glowing eye. Glowing particles fill the dark space as the legend begins to unfold. The mystery started when a powerful mythic item found a brand new owner. Magical light fills the starry sky as the memories fade back in time. A terrifying dragon named Raider emerges roaring from the fiery ancient ruins. Ellen steps forward with her magical staff to confront the massive dragon head-on. Blake recalls how elite raiders risked their lives hunting down terrifying monsters. These brave fighters gathered valuable treasures and earned massive wealth from their battles. The most famous heroes were celebrated on news broadcasts for protecting the public. Years ago, Blake sat alone in his messy room watching those famous heroes on television. He stared at the screen with intense desire, desperate to become a powerful raider himself. Back in the present, Blake sprints frantically across the ground as fast as he can. His heart beats rapidly while he struggles to breathe through the overwhelming exertion. An eerie red aura flutters wildly around the dark chamber as danger approaches. The thick red pressure continues to swell, making the entire room feel heavy. Suddenly, bright golden lightning crackles aggressively across the gloomy space. A powerful stream of brilliant magic arcs fiercely through the air. Blake stands ready as a gigantic golden magic circle expands directly in front of him. Facing death directly, Blake watches as a blinding light sweeps over him. Intense flames surge all around Blake while he lies helpless on the ground. A massive wave of magic explodes violently across the entire room. Earlier, in a quiet cafe, normal patrons enjoy their peaceful day. Suddenly, a loud outburst startles everyone inside the coffee shop. Blake shouts in rage after learning he was chosen as a human shield. He angrily confronts his team for treating his life like disposable bait. A recruiter named Carl nervously tries to calm Blake down before making a scene. Blake realizes the raid offer was suspicious from the very beginning. Blake explains that Carl works as a recruiter who arranges dungeon contracts for hunters. When Carl called him unexpectedly, Blake was eager to take on any work available. He felt excited at the time, believing he had finally secured a great opportunity. Now, Blake holds his head in frustration after realizing they expect him to be frontline bait. He sighs deeply and confronts Carl about why he only receives such dangerous job offers. Carl nervously stammers that Blake should already understand how harsh the hunter world works. Blake argues back, asking if he is being treated as disposable shield bait. Carl adjusts his glasses awkwardly as he attempts to explain the unfair system. He reminds Blake that lower-ranked frontline fighters always take the highest risks. Safe in the back, high-level mages unleash devastating spells without ever risking their lives. Meanwhile, the frontline shield bearers are forced to block incoming attacks head-on. In the dark dungeon, a beaten warrior wraps bandages over his fresh injuries. Blake grits his teeth as he thinks back to 10 years ago.
Back then, a new system gave everyone a fresh opportunity. A woman named Ivy eventually became the world's most powerful mage. She reached the top despite starting with a 92% score. Young Blake trained hard with wooden swords alongside other recruits. He didn't have big dreams and just wanted a modest living. Mages could not fight monsters directly without frontline shields. They relied entirely on fighters while providing simple party buffs. Blake feels bitter knowing how unfairly fighters are exploited. A raider's strength completely stops growing once they turn 20. Kevin offers Blake a rare raiding job, claiming another raider almost took the offer.
Blake tightly clenches his fist under the table, knowing he desperately needs the money. Blake looks down in frustration, realizing he has no real choice in his situation. Kevin looks surprised when Blake suddenly accepts the difficult assignment without arguing. Both men sit across from each other in silence as the agreement is settled. Blake admits to himself that a low-rank raider cannot afford to turn down work. Kevin smiles cheerfully, delighted that Blake agreed to take on the mission. Blake grabs his iced drink and stands up, preparing to take his leave. Blake asks Kevin to focus on his agency duties and not worry about him. Kevin raises his mug with a relaxed smile, reminding Blake about tomorrow's schedule. The next day arrives as Blake enters a quiet, sunlit forest for his raid. A magical portal shimmers deep within the quiet, ancient forest. Raiders gather near the swirling gate, murmuring in nervous anticipation. Jaehyun leans against a tree, waiting for someone to appear. He checks his phone, frustrated that his contact is running late. Jaehyun sighs, doubting the person will actually show up today. He narrows his eyes, his gaze sharp and focused on the distance. He watches the other raiders while waiting for his mysterious guest. Nearby, a brawler wonders why a skilled mage like Yu Min works here. Jaehyun overhears them, questioning why someone so talented stays in this spot. Suddenly, a powerful surge of energy erupts from the portal nearby. Dark red wings flap as a terrifying figure steps into view. The newcomer looms over everyone, radiating a dark and dangerous aura. Jaehyun stands silently, feeling the weight of the moment as he waits. He flinches suddenly, his senses picking up on something intense nearby. Arthur approaches him, laughing while making small talk about his recent work. Jaehyun keeps a calm expression while listening to Arthur chatter away. Arthur continues to brag, trying to sound cool and impressive to Jaehyun. Jaehyun is not impressed, feeling annoyed and incredibly hungry instead. Arthur nudges him, clearly trying to get a specific reaction out of him. Jaehyun eyes him suspiciously, wondering what Arthur is really after. Arthur hints at a past mission, hoping to remind Jaehyun of their history. Jaehyun stays quiet, scratching his neck as he considers his next move. Arthur steals a quick, nervous glance at Jaehyun's stoic face. Arthur groans in frustration, finally giving up on trying to act cool. Arthur tries to get Jaehyun's attention with loud, boastful noises. Jaehyun gives a fake, bright smile to get Arthur to stop bothering him. The two men wait near the entrance of the dungeon area. A man in a suit announces that the entry time is almost here. The other adventurers look nervous as they prepare for the mission to begin. Jaehyun remains quiet and stoic while Arthur continues to act restless. Jaehyun lets out a tired sigh and checks his device for updates. He presses a button on his device to check the status of the area. Arthur keeps pacing around while Jaehyun stays focused on his task. Suddenly, two other adventurers discover a mysterious treasure chest inside the dungeon. The heavy wooden chest makes a strange, ominous sound as it sits there. The two adventurers watch in shock as the chest starts to move on its own. The mysterious treasure chest suddenly cracks open, revealing a terrifying, toothy monster inside. A dark voice warns that this chest is both a potential gift and a deadly trap. The creature strikes with a violent splash, proving the warning about tragedy was true. Jaehyun stares intensely, his eyes glowing as he processes the dangerous situation before him. Arthur mocks Jaehyun for being distracted and staring at his phone again. Arthur smirks, noting that Jaehyun always does this right before they enter a dungeon. Jaehyun simply brushes him off, claiming that it is nothing important. Jaehyun gives a knowing, confident grin while looking down at his screen. On his phone, Jaehyun looks at a cherished picture of himself and a beautiful girl. The group finally turns their focus toward the glowing blue portal of the dungeon entrance. The ground shakes violently as the team stands inside the dark dungeon. Debris falls everywhere while the group braces for an incoming attack. A terrifying horde of undead monsters charges directly at them with loud growls. Jaehyun shouts at his team to stay in formation and hold their ground. The team stands ready behind their shields as the enemies close the distance. Jaehyun looks on, frustrated by the overwhelming number of monsters attacking them. One of the mages begins chanting a powerful fire spell to clear the path. A massive ball of magical flame erupts from the mage's hand. The fire spell surges forward with incredible speed and heat. The explosion of fire lights up the entire dark dungeon hallway. Jaehyun watches as the flames engulf the charging undead horde. The powerful blast slams into the monsters, creating a massive explosion of light. A massive explosion of fire engulfs the area, incinerating the incoming waves of undead enemies. Jaehyun stands firm behind his shield as the flames and magical energy begin to fade away. Jaehyun turns his head, sensing that something is happening behind him. A group of mages stands nearby, having proven their strength during the intense battle. Jaehyun looks back toward the chaos, his eyes narrowing as he stays focused on the mission. The nearby stone walls show signs of deep cracks, hinting at the power of the recent spells. The team takes a brief moment to rest in a safe, dimly lit area nearby. A teammate relaxes, mentioning that only one final boss remains for them to defeat. The teammate sighs, joking that he should have trained harder while he was younger. He swipes his finger across a glowing blue holographic screen to check their progress. Jaehyun notices something strange and pauses, his expression turning into one of confusion. Suddenly, the digital screen begins to glitch and spark, showing a serious system error. Jaehyun stares at his screen as the system displays weird, glitchy light. Suddenly, a sharp, throbbing pain hits his head, forcing him to clutch it. Jaehyun winces in confusion and wonders what just happened to him. A notification pops up claiming the system has been downloaded. Then, the screen flashes a warning that the system is down. He receives another alert saying the reboot process has failed. Jaehyun looks at the flickering messages, completely unsure of what is happening. Strange, glowing green lights begin to swirl around him in the air. A mysterious voice echoes, telling him to follow the light. Jaehyun is startled as the light suddenly hit him with a flash. He looks up, feeling that something major is about to change. The screen warns him that an unknown entity has hacked the system. Blake's system screen suddenly flashes a red warning that his task has failed. Blake stares at the screen with a confused and tired expression. He wonders quietly if he is supposed to follow the mysterious light. His teammate Sam notices his strange behavior and asks what just happened. Blake turns to answer, clearly still rattled by the strange event. He tells Sam he heard a voice telling him to follow the light. Suddenly, a bright, glowing orb appears right in front of Sam. The light surges forward, and Blake catches a glimpse of a spear materializing. The glowing energy continues to swirl around them in the dark room. Blake watches in shock as the magical light intensifies before his eyes. The orb pulses with power, filling the space with an eerie glow. Sam looks concerned and tells Blake he should lie down because he looks sick. Blake tries to stay calm, telling himself he is perfectly fine despite the strange situation. He takes a shaky breath to steady his nerves as the mysterious energy intensifies. Blake suddenly walks away, reassuring Sam that he will be back in just a moment. His eyes glow with an intense, focused light as he approaches the source of the magic. Blake enters a hidden cave where a bright, swirling ball of energy waits for him. The magical orb floats in the center of the dark cavern, pulsing with intense power. Blake reaches out his hand, trying to interact with the glowing phenomenon before him. Suddenly, blue digital screens pop up, flashing warnings that the system is crashing. Blake stares in frustration as his interface fails to display his status window. The system continues to glitch, displaying new errors as it tries to function properly. The screen warns of data corruption and attempts to restart in safe mode. Blake lets out a tired sigh, feeling completely overwhelmed by the constant technical failures. A bright light shines brightly in the middle of the dark cave tunnel. Blake suspects that the mysterious voice he heard is causing his system failure. The glitched interface warns that an unknown entity is broken into the main system. Blake remembers a strange event from his youth involving glowing lights. He recalls resting with his old team when a mysterious voice called out to him. The strange voice had repeatedly urged him to follow the bright light. Blake stands quietly as he thinks back on his past experiences. He decides to walk further into the dark cave toward the light. Blake remembers that his system was created by the legendary Aesir gods. This powerful system connects back to the grand pantheon of Asgard. It incorporates the supreme authority of ancient Norse gods like Odin and Thor. 20 years ago, a large cruise ship was sailing peacefully across the ocean. The world faced a terrible crisis known as the Year of Catastrophe. A massive, supernatural tree suddenly appeared in the middle of the ocean. Its sudden arrival shook the entire world to its core. This colossal tree grew with terrifying and unnatural speed. It expanded rapidly, taking over the landscape in just half a day. Within 9 days, the giant tree had completely covered the sky. People watched in fear as the world changed before their eyes. The event was marked by strange, glowing energy and mystery. A sacred church window depicts this legendary massive tree. The stained glass highlights the tree's powerful and divine branches. The intricate design shows the tree's deep connection to ancient myths. This is the legendary world tree that changed history forever. The world changed forever when the mysterious world tree appeared, bringing chaos. 9 days after the tree appeared, a terrible disaster struck humanity. Monstrous creatures descended, raining destruction upon the helpless world. Powerful beasts emerged from the shadows to hunt down the survivors. The brutal attacks caused mass panic as monsters tore through the cities. The global population was cut in half by these heartless and deadly predators. The savage creatures continued their hunt, showing no mercy to anyone. Amidst the flames and ruins, a lone figure stood ready to fight. He stepped forward with his weapon, prepared to face the encroaching danger. The monsters growled as they prepared to attack the mysterious warrior. The man remained calm, his presence glowing with an intense, golden light. The beasts lunged forward, charging at the man with blinding speed. A ferocious beast leaps through the air to attack the lone warrior. The monster lunges forward with a vicious snarl, closing the distance quickly. Arthur effortlessly counters the beast with a wave of dark energy. Arthur strikes down the creature, proving his immense power in the fight. With a clean slash, he neutralizes the threat before it can land. Arthur stands calm, a warrior who gained godlike strength from the system. He remains ready, his weapon glowing with a menacing dark aura. While others rely on system data, Arthur faces monsters head-on with skill. Arthur watches the lights, deeply concerned about the future of the world. He wonders if the Aesir system is about to undergo a dangerous change. He fears that any major shift in the system will bring only trouble. Mysterious green flames ignite, signaling that a new, uncertain phase is beginning. Arthur steps forward, his armored boots clicking against the cold stone floor. He stops in his tracks, staring up at a massive, mysterious doorway. The giant gate looms before him, pulsing with a strange golden light. Arthur's eyes widen in disbelief as he realizes what stands before him. A nervous smile forms on his face as his heart begins to race. He recognizes the ancient symbols carved into the heavy metal surface. It is a legendary treasure gate, a place whispered about in myths. These hidden rooms are said to hold piles of unimaginable, god-tier loot. Arthur reaches out, tentatively placing his hand against the glowing, heavy door. He thinks about the power he could gain if he finds high-rank gear. With this equipment, he could finally escape his dangerous and exhausting daily struggles. Arthur prays to the gods, begging for a powerful reward as the door creaks. Jaehyun steps through a glowing doorway into a strange, otherworldly realm. He finds himself standing on a floating platform surrounded by a cosmic sky. Powerful energy swirls all around him in this mysterious and sacred place. The air hums with intense magic as Jaehyun gazes at the glowing horizon. He prepares himself, ready to face whatever challenge awaits him next. Jaehyun uses his scanning ability to analyze the unusual environment around him. A brilliant, concentrated beam of light pulses in the center of the area. Jaehyun smiles, realizing he has finally located the rare item he needs. He steps forward cautiously, moving toward the source of the immense power. Jaehyun reaches out his hand to grasp the legendary prize floating ahead. His fingers touch the object, and a blinding light fills the entire space. Jaehyun reaches his hand into the bright golden light pulsing before him. A system window pops up, announcing that his system has finally come back online. Another message alerts him that he has successfully acquired a new piece of equipment. The system asks if he would like to view the details of his new item. Jaehyun grins, relieved that his system rebooted at just the right moment. He thinks to himself how lucky he is for everything to work out so well. He feels grateful as a sudden rush of incredible energy begins to gather around him. Bright golden magical energy swirls violently in the air around his outstretched hand. Jaehyun holds up a mysterious glowing relic shaped like a powerful eye. The system reveals he obtained Odin's lost eye, the only mythic item in the world. Jaehyun stares in utter shock when he realizes he just got a mythic tier item. Powerful magic swirls around Jaehyun as he prepares to equip the legendary mythic item. Jaehyun stares in awe as the system reveals his new treasure. He unlocks the powerful absolute calculation skill, which can destroy any enemy magic. The item also lets him copy enemy skills using special blank cards. A wide, confident grin spreads across Jaehyun's face as he realizes his potential. He clenches his chest, stunned to finally possess a legendary mythic tier item. He vows that his days of being treated like a slave are finally over. He is thrilled to leave his difficult life as a low-level raider behind. Jaehyun hesitates for a moment, then decides to test the artifact just once. He knows a rare opportunity like this will never come his way again. The system warns that the item will soulbind, so he quickly cancels the process. The intense magical pressure in the room finally begins to fade away. Ji-hyun collapses to the floor, exhausted by the stress of the encounter. Ji-hyun considers selling the powerful mythic item on the black market for a massive fortune. However, he realizes that since he is already over 20, he cannot level up anymore. He concludes that using such a rare item would be a complete waste on his current self. Suddenly, the system shuts down, signaling an unexpected and mysterious error. The system notes that this strange behavior is a variable outside of its normal scope. The system finds these sudden irregular events to be quite annoying and all too familiar. In this dangerous world filled with real dungeons, things rarely go according to plan. Jaehyun decides it is time to stop thinking and head back to his team immediately. He turns away from the area, preparing to return to the reality he knows. As he arrives, his teammate Victor notices him and calls out to the group. Victor shouts for Jaehyun, who slowly walks toward them looking tired and distracted. Victor impatiently tells Jaehyun to hurry up because their next mission is about to begin. Jaehyun apologizes for the previous incident, promising it will not happen again. His teammate watches him closely, sensing that something feels different about him.
The teammate glances at Jaehyun, feeling a strange and dark energy surrounding him. Jaehyun shrugs off the tension and playfully jabs his teammate to lighten the mood. Jaehyun smiles brightly, insisting that he is perfectly fine and ready to continue. Jaehyun offers to pay for drinks later, joking that he cannot be a freeloader forever. Jaehyun walks away toward the rest of the group with a determined stride. His confused teammate scratches his head, wondering if Jaehyun hit his head recently. Jaehyun continues walking, his face expressionless and his eyes hidden in shadow. A sudden, intense glow appears in Jaehyun's eye, revealing a hidden, dangerous power. Jaehyun realizes they are still trapped inside the dangerous dungeon instance. He prepares to reveal the truth about the powerful item he has acquired. The dungeon walls begin to crack and split open as the ground shakes. Jaehyun stands with his team, trying to stay calm and focused. He reminds himself that his main goal is just to finish the job quietly. His teammate speaks up, saying their formation is finally ready to move. Suddenly, a massive explosion rocks the area, throwing everyone into chaos. Dust and debris fill the air as the unexpected blast hits the group. Jaehyun is caught off guard as the ground beneath them continues to explode. The force of the blast knocks Jaehyun off his feet and into the air. He tumbles across the ground, wondering what is happening to his team. Jaehyun lands hard, struggling to understand the source of the sudden attack. A strange purple mist begins to spread across the ruined dungeon floor. Jaehyun watches in shock as the toxic gas starts to hiss around him. A strange purple mist suddenly floods the area, surrounding Jaehyun and his allies. The team struggles to breathe as the toxic gas begins to hiss around them. Jaehyun realizes the danger immediately and covers his mouth to avoid the deadly fog.
He knows that staying in this poisonous cloud for too long means certain death. Jae-hyun shouts to his teammate, warning them that they must escape this place immediately. His teammate agrees, also realizing that the situation has become far too dangerous. Jae-hyun gives a quick nod, ready to lead the way out of the trap. Before they can move, a sudden and violent strike hits their group from nowhere. A sharp blade slices through the air, leaving a trail of blood behind it. Jae-hyun watches in shock as the reality of the surprise attack sinks in. His teammate is struck down, looking down at his chest in complete confusion. Coughing up blood, the injured man cries out for his companion in his final moments. Arthur strikes down his opponent with a powerful glowing sword attack. The defeated enemy collapses to the ground with a heavy thud. Arthur feels his heart pounding intensely as the battle reaches its peak. He dashes forward, his breath coming in short, panicked gasps. A massive explosion of light erupts right in front of him. Smoke and debris fill the air, completely obscuring his vision. Arthur is thrown backward by the force of the blast. Everything around him blurs as he struggles to regain his footing. A wounded soldier stands nearby, looking shocked by the sudden turn of events. Arthur stands hunched over, his heart racing and sweat dripping down. He fights to catch his breath while his heart continues to hammer. Arthur realizes he is truly trapped in this dangerous situation. Arthur's trapped and panicked, wondering how everything went so wrong in the dungeon. He takes a deep breath, forcing himself to stay calm despite the danger. He refuses to let anyone steal his powerful item, even in his weakened state. Arthur mutters to himself while keeping a sharp eye on his mysterious surroundings. Suddenly, a hooded figure appears in the distance, slowly walking toward him. Bright magical energy flares up as a golden blade materializes out of thin air. Arthur reacts quickly, turning to face the sudden surge of dangerous power. The glowing weapon swings through the air, heading straight toward Arthur's position. The attack hits with a massive explosion, forcing Arthur to brace for impact. Arthur stands his ground, grabbing his own sword as the dust begins to settle. The hooded figure stands calmly before him, revealing their presence at last. Arthur stares at the hooded stranger, clearly confused by his sudden appearance. The stranger smiles back at Arthur, hiding his true intentions behind a grin. He reminds Arthur of a promise they made, deepening the mystery between them. Crackling with magical energy, the stranger declares he will see Arthur today. The mysterious man stands casually, letting his magical aura fill the room. He slowly walks toward Arthur, still repeating his cryptic promise. The man gives a smug, quiet laugh, clearly enjoying Arthur's visible tension. Arthur watches him closely, still trying to process who this person is. Arthur finally speaks up, asking if the man is responsible for the chaos. He accuses the stranger of creating the deadly fog that trapped them all. Arthur demands to know if he is the one who attacked everyone there. The stranger just keeps smiling, refusing to deny Arthur's dark accusations. The mysterious stranger smiles, clearly enjoying the tension of their meeting. Arthur feels a chill run down his spine from the man's dark aura. Arthur tries to stay calm and demands to know the stranger's true motive. The man shrugs, casually claiming he is just finishing a job for a client. He prepares to reveal the reasoning behind his cruel and calculated actions. Arthur grits his teeth, frustrated by the man's arrogant and dismissive attitude. The stranger looms over the area, radiating an overwhelming and dangerous magical presence. Arthur remembers the fallen victims who were left behind in the fog. The scene shows the tragic cost of the stranger's heartless contract. More innocent lives have been lost to the stranger's cold-blooded mission. Arthur grips his sword tightly, ready to strike back at the villain. Arthur lunges forward with a shout, determined to stop the madness immediately. Arthur stares at the powerful mage, wondering if he has what it takes to win. The mysterious mage stands calmly, radiating an intense and dangerous aura. The stranger, known as Human, reveals his high rank as an A-rank mage. Arthur realizes his enemies never intended to kill him, so he keeps his guard up. He knows that with his allies currently weakened, he cannot afford to act recklessly. Arthur watches the battlefield, feeling the heavy weight of his difficult choices. He desperately wants to avenge his fallen comrades who lost their lives in the chaos. He specifically remembers his brave friend Mark and the tragedy of his death. Uman cruelly promises to forget everything that happened here, showing no remorse. Infuriated by the man's cold words, Arthur calls him out and prepares to strike. Arthur swings his blade, unleashing a powerful burst of energy against the mage. A massive fiery explosion erupts as the two fighters finally clash in combat.
Uman unleashes a massive magical explosion, forcing Arthur to narrowly dodge the deadly attack. Arthur stands bruised and bleeding, barely managing to block the overwhelming force of the blast. Arthur realizes that his fast reflexes are the only thing keeping him alive right now. Uman sneers at Arthur, clearly enjoying the intense pressure he is putting on his opponent. Uman reveals he has a secondary target in mind and prepares another dangerous magical strike. Powerful arcs of lightning surge forward, threatening to overwhelm Arthur with sheer destructive energy. The battlefield is consumed by blinding light as Uman's relentless assault continues to intensify. The air crackles with lethal magic, leaving Arthur with almost no room to maneuver safely. Another massive explosion rocks the area, pushing Arthur to his absolute breaking point. Arthur forces himself to dash through the chaos, refusing to give up against such power. Blood drips from Arthur's face as he grunts in frustration, struggling to close the gap. Uman remains confident, snapping his fingers to keep Arthur trapped in this deadly situation. A massive blast of golden magic surges forward, threatening to overwhelm Arthur completely. Arthur is confused and terrified, wondering why this powerful attacker is singling him out. Bleeding and hurt, Arthur cries out that he is just a weak, unimportant raider. The hooded figure stands calmly, surrounded by crackling sparks of dangerous, unstable energy. The stranger prepares a final, overwhelming strike that glows with intense, lethal power. Arthur reaches up, feeling the immense pressure of the incoming attack closing in on him. Staring in shock, Arthur tries to understand who could possibly be this strong. A strange, ominous red aura begins to fill the air, accompanied by falling feathers. The world seems to tremble as Arthur experiences a sudden, intense shift in reality. Shadows deepen and the red energy intensifies, surrounding Arthur in a mysterious, dark presence. Arthur stands frozen in the center of this terrifying, unknown power as it takes hold. The scene dissolves into a chaotic, distorted blur as the magical energy reaches its peak. Jaehyun stands in silence as he processes the strange situation unfolding before him. His expression remains stoic despite the intense pressure radiating from his surroundings. A mysterious hooded figure appears, questioning if Jaehyun's father is behind the chaos. Sparks of electricity fill the air as the two combatants prepare to clash. The hooded man covers his mouth, clearly amused by the tense standoff. Energy crackles around the hooded man while Jaehyun watches him with sharp focus. The hooded man begins to laugh, mocking the severity of their confrontation. His loud, taunting laughter echoes through the area, filling the space with tension. The hooded man continues to smirk, clearly confident in his own hidden power. He mocks Jaehyun, claiming his skills are still as sharp as they ever were. Jaehyun remains calm, hiding his true thoughts behind a dark, shadowed gaze. A sudden memory flashes, showing Jaehyun standing beside a mysterious woman from his past. Jaehyun stares down the stranger and demands one final answer. He recalls a painful memory of a woman lying cold on a table. The memory of her death brings Jaehyun to tears. This traumatic event happened exactly 5 years ago. Jaehyun glares at the hooded man with intense anger. He asks if the stranger was the one who gave the order to kill her. The hooded man laughs and says he's surprised Jaehyun figured it out. The stranger mocks Jaehyun while admitting he is impressed by his deduction. Blood drips down Jaehyun's face as his rage hits a breaking point. The hooded man steps forward, ready to continue their deadly fight. He cruelly claims Jaehyun's father killed his own wife and is now coming for him. The stranger unleashes a powerful blast of energy directly at Jaehyun. Jaehyun stands firm as powerful magical energy surges around him. The hooded villain taunts him with a cruel smile. The stranger dismisses the tragedy of Jaehyun's past with cold indifference. Jaehyun remains silent, his face showing deep pain in focus. He stares ahead, processing the villain's harsh words about his father. Jaehyun whispers to himself, gathering his resolve for the fight. The environment begins to glitch and distort with magical static. A blinding flash of light erupts, signaling a massive attack. The reality around them continues to shatter and break apart. The villain mocks Jaehyun, asking if he has any final words. He laughs confidently, certain that his victory is already guaranteed. The villain adjusts his glasses, preparing to deliver the final blow. A massive surge of golden energy erupts, shaking the very foundation of the battlefield. Jaehyun stands firm as the overwhelming power of the villain begins to distort reality. Jaehyun watches in shock, struggling to understand the sheer magnitude of the villain's mana. The ground beneath them buckles and cracks under the intense pressure of the magical aura. Despite his injuries, Jaehyun prepares himself for the final, brutal exchange of their fight. Jaehyun observes with growing concern as the enemy's mana level continues to climb higher. He wonders in desperation what kind of terrifying power the hooded man is wielding. Knowing he is in grave danger, Jaehyun decides he must end this confrontation immediately. Jaehyun declares that playtime is over, summoning his own energy to counter the threat. A brilliant arc of golden light tears through the air as the clash begins. The powerful strike sweeps across the field, forcing Jaehyun to react with everything he has. Jaehyun narrowly avoids the devastating blow as the shockwaves continue to rip through space. Jaehyun gathers his final strength to face the incoming magical assault. The powerful energy erupts with a massive deafening blast. The air shatters as Jaehyun manages to deflect the intense magical strike. Jaehyun stands tall as the dust and magical light begin to clear. His opponent watches in complete disbelief at what just happened. Jaehyun remains calm, his eyes glowing with newfound, dangerous energy. A system notification confirms Jaehyun has successfully equipped Odin's Lost Eye. Jaehyun smiles, feeling the immense power of his new soul-bound item. A rare blank card appears, ready for Jaehyun to use. His enemy screams in shock, unable to process the sudden turn of events. He demands to know how Jaehyun could possibly disperse such powerful magic. Jaehyun takes a firm step forward, ready to finish this fight. Jaehyun stares down his opponent and calls out his name, Umin. Odin's Lost Eye activates, sacrificing a blank card to trigger its power. Jaehyun's eyes glow with intense energy as his new ability takes hold. The system begins copying the complex skill chains used by Umin. Powerful arcs of electricity crackle through the air around them. Umin watches in disbelief as the magical storm builds up. Floating blades of pure golden energy surround Jaehyun. Umin stumbles back, clearly shaken by the sudden turn of events. Jaehyun mocks him, noting how long it took to master such magic. Umin is shocked that a D-rank brawler could learn these skills so easily. Umin grits his teeth, refusing to admit defeat to Jaehyun's new power. Jaehyun prepares to unleash his copied technique against his rival. A massive wave of golden energy surges forward, threatening to overwhelm everything in its path. Jaehyun reacts quickly as the blinding light flashes towards him with intense speed. The forces collide with a deafening metallic clang, creating a brilliant burst of light. Sparks and chaotic energy fly everywhere as the two powerful attacks grind against each other. A glowing golden chain-like construct emerges, screeching as it cuts through the air. The intense pressure causes a massive explosion, shaking the ground beneath Jaehyun's feet. Jaehyun stands firm, his eyes glowing as he commands the radiant energy around him. The battle reaches a fever pitch, with shockwaves rocking the area as he prepares to dash. Energy crackles in his palm, surging with raw, untamed power as he focuses his intent. He unleashes a powerful flare, channeling the magic into a concentrated, devastating strike. The golden light expands outward, forming a massive sphere of energy that dominates the battlefield. Jaehyun's system locks on, initiating a precise calculation to secure his victory over his opponent. A glowing golden chain suddenly lashes out through the darkness. The chain strikes with intense energy, crackling with raw power. It moves with incredible speed, clattering as it whips around. Arthur stands his ground, staring in shock at the brilliant display. Arthur shouts in frustration, ready to fight back against the assault. Suddenly, a powerful blue barrier forms to protect him from harm. Arthur channels his energy, activating a special defensive skill. The golden attack hits the barrier with a heavy metallic sound. Arthur's eyes glow with intensity as he focuses on his defense. He initiates the absolute calculation skill to analyze the incoming threat. The barrier shatters under the pressure, cracking like fragile glass. Arthur remains calm, watching the fragments of his shield fall away. Arthur stares forward with intense focus as his power surges. A glowing golden energy spear forms in the air before him. The energy erupts in a massive, blinding explosion of light. Arthur stands firm as debris flies through the air around him. The smoke clears while the remnants of his broken glasses hit the ground.
Arthur slowly walks forward, his body battered from the intense fight. He stumbles, his hand reaching out as he drops his glasses. Arthur falls to the ground, coughing up blood from his injuries. He struggles to breathe, his face covered in deep, painful wounds. Suddenly, a sharp golden blade swings through the air with speed. The blade strikes Arthur, piercing him as he looks on in shock. Fresh blood splatters onto the shattered frames of his glasses. Arthur lies on the cold ground, his face covered in blood and exhaustion. He struggles to stay conscious and wonders if the battle is finally over. Arthur and his opponent both collapse, completely drained from their brutal fight. Arthur stares blankly ahead as his life force slowly begins to fade away. He realizes with despair that he has absolutely no energy left to continue. He reflects on the mythic item he worked so hard to finally obtain. Arthur feels a deep sense of regret that his journey ends in defeat. The word death looms over him, signaling the end of his path. His eyes grow heavy as he accepts his grim and quiet fate. Arthur finally closes his eyes, surrendering to the darkness of the battlefield. A mysterious system notification chimes, confirming the successful download of a new operating system. The system asks Arthur if he wants to initiate the program, offering a path forward. Arthur, lying wounded and bleeding on the battlefield, stares at the glowing screen in confusion. The system explains that the new program will send the user back to their most desired time. Arthur wonders if this strange power is truly offering him a second chance at life. The screen repeats its message about returning to the past, waiting for his final decision. A faint, hopeful smile touches Arthur's lips as he considers the possibility of changing his fate. Arthur slowly blinks, his eyes heavy with exhaustion as he prepares to accept the offer. With a final look, he decides to trust the system and embrace the unknown opportunity. The system begins the activation process, identifying itself as the Nornir operating system. A bright pulsating light fills the air, signaling that the time travel process has begun. Arthur is enveloped by a brilliant flash of golden light as the world around him fades away. Arthur encounters three mysterious, godlike figures surrounded by blinding, holy light. Ancient runes appear, signaling a profound and divine transformation is beginning. The first figure speaks, her voice echoing with weight and ancient authority. The central goddess reveals herself, emanating an aura of supreme, absolute power. The third figure joins the call, urging Arthur toward a fateful destiny. A massive, glowing seal manifests, marking the start of a legendary trial. The goddess smiles warmly, offering Arthur a chance to change his path. She reaches out her hand, inviting Arthur to accept her divine blessing. The space around them dissolves into pure, shimmering particles of golden light. Arthur steps forward, drawn into the goddess's radiant and calming presence. Their hands meet, forging a powerful connection that transcends time and space. A crown of thorns appears, symbolizing the heavy burden Arthur must now bear. Arthur stares at his own hands in disbelief as the transformation begins. Bright golden light radiates from his palms, signaling a massive change. A powerful surge of magical energy erupts directly between his open hands. The Nornir system announces that the time travel process is now complete. Arthur opens his eyes wide, shocked by the sudden, disorienting shift in reality. He sees a figure lying still on a bed, covered by a white sheet. Flashes of traumatic memories and past failures flood into his mind instantly. He relives the painful, chaotic moments that led to this grim situation. Arthur stands there, paralyzed by the intense emotions of his fractured past. The heavy weight of his memories presses down on him like dark smoke. Arthur desperately hopes that everything he is seeing is just a dream. He looks up, struggling to process the reality of his new timeline. Jay suddenly feels a deep sense of warmth washing over his body. He envisions a peaceful life standing happily side by side with Chloe. Chloe stands in front of him dressed neatly and wearing a subtle smile. Jay silently thinks about how much he cherished this peaceful dream. Chloe looks directly at Jay with a warm and gentle expression. Tears stream down Jay's face as intense emotions suddenly overwhelm him. Without hesitation, Jay steps forward and pulls Chloe into a tight hug. He cries while clinging tightly to her, deeply relieved to hold her again. Jay wishes with all his heart that he never has to wake up.
Suddenly, a glowing system alert displays the date as November 15, 2020. The message confirms that Jay was successfully transported back in time to his past. Jay feels a sudden, sharp throbbing pain pulsing inside his chest. He clutches his chest tightly in pain as the sharp sting hits him. A system notification pops up to announce that his combat limitations are removed. Another message confirms that 20% of his total health has been restored. Jay pants heavily while cold sweat drips down his pained face. He looks around the room, trying to stay calm and catch his breath. Realizing he is sitting in his old bedroom, Jay confirms he is back home. Suddenly, a new subquest automatically starts, encouraging him to get proper rest. The system quest tasks Jay with recovering 80% of his health for a reward. Jay stares intently at the system window, carefully digesting the new quest details. He closes his eyes and exhales a long sigh of relief. Jay begins reflecting on his past memories to make sense of his situation. Jay recalls how he survived his brutal battle against Uman instead of perishing in defeat. Installing a new system brought him back to his most desired moment in the past. Having faced terrifying monsters before, Jay stays calm while navigating through the floating system screen. He knows from his past raider life that weird situations require composure and quick adaptation. Jay keeps swiping through the floating menu options with a focused, steady expression. He reminds himself that analyzing every detail quickly is crucial for surviving any challenge. Holding his chin thoughtfully, Jay considers what steps he needs to take next. With a sharp gaze, Jay prepares to adapt to this second chance at life. A bright system alert confirms that the old operating system is successfully replaced by Nornir. Jay swings his legs off the bed and plants his feet onto the floor. Standing up slowly, he looks around his old bedroom with a clear sense of purpose. Ready to move, Jay gets up from his bed to begin his new chapter. Jay grabs the desk calendar from his shelf to check his past notes. He smiles knowingly, ready to make different choices and change his future. Jay holds up the calendar to review what he originally wrote. He grabs a pen from his desk holder to alter his plans. Jay crosses out the reminder to choose the Brawler class on his application. He smirks confidently, determined not to repeat his past mistake. Jay sits down at the table and picks up a bite of food. He chews his meal, savoring the peaceful moment back home. Overwhelmed with emotion, Jay gets teary-eyed while eating the food. His sister Lily looks at him in confusion as he starts sniffling. Lily gazes at Jay with deep concern, wondering why he is crying. Jay remembers tightly hugging Lily as soon as she came home earlier. Lily gently pats Jay's back to comfort him while he pulls himself together. Jay sets his chopsticks down on the table to gather his composure. He looks across the table at Lily, who is worried by his emotional outburst. Jay gives her a warm smile to reassure her that he is all right. He stammers out a quick excuse to explain away his unexpected tears. Jay picks his chopsticks back up and pretends everything is completely normal. In his mind, he remembers the tragic sight of Lily's body from his past life. His eyes harden with determination to ensure that awful future never happens again. Lily smiles gently and accepts his excuse without asking any further questions. She gazes at him fondly, happy to see her brother back to his normal self. Jay sits in silence, fully committed to changing the path ahead of them. Lily softly closes her eyes, feeling at ease now that Jay seems fine. Jay tells Lily that he wants to change things for their future. Lily gives him a gentle smile and warmly agrees to his request. Jay stands face to face with Lily in a quiet, peaceful moment. Lily gets teary-eyed as she gazes lovingly at her son. Lily softly speaks to Jay, her voice filled with deep affection. She tenderly places her hand against Jay's cheek to comfort him. Jay smiles softly back, feeling reassured by his mother's loving touch. Lily looks at him with a warm, caring expression full of love. Jay gets choked up with emotion, holding back his tears. He quickly wipes his eyes, fighting to stay strong for her. Jay's demeanor suddenly turns cold as dark energy swirls around him. He focuses his hatred entirely on Uman, the enemy who ruined his past. Jay reminds himself that to get revenge on his father Uman, an A-rank raider, he needs power. With sharp determination in his eyes, Jay focuses completely on his ultimate goal. A system message pops up, confirming he successfully completed his rest quest. The system rewards Jay with a rare blank card for finishing the quest.
Sweat drips down Jay's body as he finishes an intense workout on his floor. Jay pushes himself up off the floor and thinks about his quest reward. After drying himself off with a towel, Jay looks at his floating notifications. He pulls on a black shirt, trusting his memory to guide his next steps. Jay pulls out his desk chair and prepares to sit down to plan carefully. He sits back comfortably, thinking about how best to use his skills and knowledge. Jay lets out a soft sigh while staying focused on his revenge plan. A glowing system window appears in front of Jay as he inspects his new reward.
Arthur reviews his current stats and level after his sudden return to the past. His system interface highlights several powerful new passive and active skills he has acquired. Arthur gazes at the glowing screen, carefully considering how to use his new abilities. The system confirms that all his previous passive skills have carried over perfectly. He gains the elite Scrutiny of the Gods skill, which promises rapid development for him. Arthur is shocked to discover that this skill grants him extra stats every level. He continues to analyze the powerful benefits bestowed upon him by the mysterious gods. The Eye of the Absolute God skill allows him to see past illusions and truths.
He also gains the Chains of Shock, an active skill that can paralyze his enemies. Arthur decides that picking up the Chains of Shock was a very smart choice. He looks over his character overview again, ready to assign his 21 points. Arthur concludes that investing his points into magic is the best path forward. Arthur focuses intensely as he checks his latest status updates. His agility and magic stats both increase significantly after his recent training. A massive boost to his endurance arrives, further strengthening his physical form. Arthur contemplates which new skill he should acquire next. He considers that learning healing magic is a very logical choice.
Most people in this world look down on mages compared to brawlers. Mages are often treated like they are at the bottom of society. However, healers are treated very differently and with great respect. Healers are welcomed everywhere and are highly valued for their essential services. Arthur carefully weighs these benefits as he makes his final decision. He sighs and prepares to commit to his new path. With his mind made up, Arthur prepares for the next step. Arthur looks exhausted and bloodied after his latest intense training session. The physical toll of his recent struggles causes him to wince in pain. He sighs, pushing past the pain to focus on his next big goal. Checking his phone, Arthur realizes he has a new, important lead to follow. He recalls a crucial detail about a powerful figure he had previously overlooked. He focuses his mind on the legendary Saint Sarah, a figure of immense power. A vision of the saint appears, radiating a calm and holy energy. She holds out her hands, glowing with a bright and healing light. Arthur stands up from his desk, ready to put his new plan into motion. He quickly grabs his hoodie, prepared to head out into the city.
Arthur calls out to his sister, letting her know he's leaving for a while. He walks toward the door, busy typing on his phone as he prepares for his mission. A mysterious message confirms that someone is arriving soon. A luxury car speeds down the road to handle important business. Sarah discusses her busy schedule, including an upcoming dungeon campaign. Victor watches her closely through the rearview mirror with suspicion. Victor addresses Sarah, clearly worried about her current state. Sarah offers a calm, polite smile and claims she is just tired. Victor stays silent, but his intense eyes show he remains doubtful. Later, Ivy walks through a busy city street looking for someone. She spots someone in the crowd and eagerly pulls them along. Arthur feels annoyed by the crowd and tells her to stop pulling. They both turn around, noticing the heavy foot traffic around them. Arthur smirks, teasing her about why she dragged him here today. Ivy blushes and quickly tells him to let go of her hand. She tightens her grip, refusing to let him walk away just yet. Ivy looks down, hiding her face as their moment continues in silence. Ivy complains that Arthur is being ungrateful after she invited him to the lecture. Arthur just keeps a calm, unbothered look on his face. The crowd gathers in the area, whispering about the upcoming event. Ivy sits in her chair, looking excited and sparkling with anticipation. Arthur scans the area, noting that the speaker is very popular. A banner reveals the guest is a famous guild leader named Silas. The theme of the lecture is about using healing magic to save the world. A woman with golden hair appears on stage, radiating a holy aura. The crowd watches in awe as the saint, Clara, begins her presentation. She stands gracefully, bathed in a bright, magical glow. Ivy watches the stage with pure admiration, completely charmed by the speaker.
Arthur narrows his eyes, clearly analyzing the situation with deep suspicion. A mysterious woman grips a microphone tightly as she prepares to make an important announcement. Jaehyun watches with intense focus, his eyes glowing as he listens to the speaker. The woman addresses the large crowd, her expression serious and poised for the reveal. The audience cheers loudly, excited by the news being shared on the main stage. Jaehyun remains calm and collected, keeping his arms crossed while observing the entire scene. A dark, ominous shadow looms over the woman, hinting at a hidden or dangerous truth. The narrative reveals someone suffered a critical condition during the dangerous advance. Jaehyun looks on, his face unreadable as he processes the grim information being presented.
Jaehyun dryly tells the cheering girl next to him that her noise is hurting his ears. The woman on stage pauses to capture everyone's attention for the final major revelation. She finally speaks the name of the legendary location, Yggdrasil. The mention of this fabled place leaves the crowd in complete awe and silence. A mysterious woman walks onto the stage to address the large crowd. She speaks about the tragic loss of life caused by the monsters. She shifts her focus to the rise of the awakened heroes. The woman continues her speech, holding the microphone with a serious expression.
Jaehyun watches her closely, his face showing a clear sense of doubt. The speaker pauses, her eyes looking pensive as she gathers her thoughts. She tells the audience that even in this moment they must act. She grips the microphone tightly as she prepares to make her plea. She calls out to all the awakened heroes across the world. She claims that their collective courage can change the future. She bows slightly, asking them to illuminate their dark world. The crowd begins to applaud her inspiring words with great enthusiasm. The young woman cries openly while listening to the emotional speech.
Jaehyun watches her and silently admits she actually has a point. He thinks to himself about the plans he had previously made. Jaehyun walks with the woman as she continues to talk. She gets annoyed and tells him to stop trying to tease her. Jaehyun catches her off guard with a sudden question. He sarcastically asks if she really knows her way around the area. Jaehyun grins and admits he was only messing with her. He tells her to stay put for a moment while she mentions her mom. Jaehyun asks her to teach him some basic magic theory later.
The woman calls out to him, asking why he is leaving so suddenly. She looks worried as he walks away, mentioning something about her mom. Jaehyun walks through the city, scanning his surroundings with sharp eyes. He spots a man in a formal suit waiting by a luxury car. Jaehyun approaches him with a confident, knowing grin. The man tries to brush him off, claiming he is too busy to talk. Jaehyun remains unfazed, his smile staying bright and steady. The man looks nervous, clearly feeling pressured by Jaehyun's sudden appearance. Jaehyun leans in close to get the man's full attention.
The man shivers, visibly unsettled by Jaehyun's intense demeanor. Jaehyun tells him that he's there for a specific, important reason. He drops a bombshell, revealing he knows about the woman's incurable disease. The man looks completely shocked by the information Jaehyun just shared. Jaehyun offers a knowing smirk, clearly in control of the conversation. The man breaks out in a cold sweat, clearly terrified by what he just heard. He grits his teeth and struggles to keep his composure in front of Jaehyun. Suddenly, the man grabs Jaehyun by his jacket, demanding to know his source. He shouts at Jaehyun, desperate to find out who revealed this secret information. Jaehyun remains completely calm, meeting the man's intense gaze without any fear. The man snaps, calling Jaehyun a little punk for his arrogant attitude. Inside the nearby limo, a mysterious woman watches the intense confrontation unfold. She observes them through the window, intrigued by the power dynamic between them. Jaehyun flashes a confident, knowing smile that unnerves the man even more. He coolly brushes off the man's hand with a flick, dismissing his aggression. The woman in the limo looks on, her expression unreadable and calm. She watches closely, her eyes fixed on the scene with deep, focused interest. Jaehyun remains calm and brushes off his clothes after the tense standoff. The man in the suit looks nervous as he continues speaking to Miss Yu. Miss Yu smiles warmly and invites Jaehyun to step inside her vehicle. Miss Yu gestures for Jaehyun to take a seat comfortably inside the car. Jaehyun sits down, keeping his cool demeanor while facing the mysterious woman. Miss Yu folds her hands, ready to discuss business in a professional manner. Her expression turns cold as she prepares to get down to serious business. Jaehyun tells her that he is willing to explain the source of his secrets. Miss Yu listens intently, her gaze never leaving Jaehyun for a single moment. She suddenly laughs it off, deciding to drop the subject for now. Her eyes narrow as she shifts the conversation to the next topic. Jaehyun watches her closely, deciding to be honest about his true intentions. Jaehyun sits calmly as he prepares to explain his knowledge to Miss Yu. Miss Yu is stunned and confused by the shocking information he just shared.
Suddenly, an angry man slams his hand onto the table in frustration. The man shouts at Jaehyun, demanding he stop talking such complete nonsense. He challenges Jaehyun, asking if he even understands how powerful Miss Yu's skill is. He insists that her inborn skill is a magical mystery beyond anyone's understanding. The man explains that her inborn skill is truly a unique and rare power. He claims it is a legendary skill class that sits far above the S-class. He notes that such powerful skills can only be passed down or manifested naturally. He argues that since standard skills rely on algorithms, her skill is impossible to copy. Jaehyun listens quietly, understanding why the man is so skeptical of his claims. Jaehyun prepares to speak again, ready to prove that he knows the truth.
The man named Silas looks distressed as he calls out to someone. A woman named Clara suggests they should let the boy explain himself. Clara sits calmly and asks if that is really all there is to it. Arthur confirms her question with a cold, direct answer. Arthur notes that there are no skill tiers higher than this one. Clara smiles faintly while surrounded by a mysterious glowing light. She speaks of self-sacrifice and offering a sacrifice to the gods. Clara sits perfectly still, looking as if she is about to begin. She gives an unsettling grin, clearly hiding a dark intention. Bright magical energy begins to flare up around Clara's body. A blinding flash of light erupts as she activates her power. Silas shouts in panic, clearly terrified by what Clara is doing. Clara releases a massive surge of golden magical energy from her hands. The bright light intensifies as she focuses her power into the air. Arthur watches the display with a calm and knowing smirk on his face. Small glowing fragments of energy begin to gather near Arthur's fingertips. Arthur holds up a mysterious blank card as the energy swirls around it. A system notification asks Arthur if he wants to register a sacrifice. Clara continues to channel her power, looking confident in her dangerous plan. The system confirms that the sacrifice is successfully registered to the card. Arthur smiles again, clearly pleased with how the experiment is going. Arthur explains that he needs to demonstrate the process for their benefit. The system interface begins the dangerous process of an active skill sacrifice. Arthur holds a brilliant orb of light, ready to complete the ritual. Arthur stands before Clara, his intense focus making the situation feel heavy. He clenches his fist, ready to test the power he just captured. A confident smile spreads across Arthur's face as the system begins its work. The system confirms he has successfully acquired the powerful sacrifice skill. Because he used a blank card, he faces no penalties for this copy. Arthur looks calm and ready, knowing he has gained a massive new advantage. Clara stares at him, wondering what his true intentions are for her guild. She studies his face closely, searching for any sign of his true nature. She realizes that despite his incredible power, he is just a very young man. Clara watches him silently, clearly surprised by his youthful appearance and confidence. Clara offers a knowing smirk as the negotiation intensifies between them. Arthur keeps his composure, ready to trade his skills for what he needs. Clara acknowledges that Arthur wants their guild's full support for his growth. Arthur admits he has big, ambitious goals that require powerful allies. Clara hints that their partnership will involve much more than simple support. She challenges him to prove he has the guts for what comes next. Arthur remains focused, waiting for her to reveal her true intentions. Clara watches him closely, testing his resolve with a steady gaze. She smiles, clearly impressed by the young raider's confidence. Arthur knows he is her only hope to cure her mysterious condition. Clara asks Arthur to clarify exactly what his condition for helping is. She begins to explain the sensitive details of her personal ailment. Clara extends her hand, making a mysterious offer to Arthur during their meeting. Arthur remains cautious, noting that her proposal seems to conflict with their goals. He watches her closely, his sharp eyes searching for the truth behind her words. Clara smiles brightly, seemingly unbothered by Arthur's hesitation and defensive stance. Arthur is caught off guard by her sudden and unexpected shift in tone. He pauses, wondering if she is actually trying to recruit him to her side. The tension in the room grows as Arthur questions the sincerity of her intentions. Arthur asks if she is being serious, seeking clarity on their complex arrangement. Clara calmly confirms she is, maintaining her poise throughout their intense conversation. She begins to explain the various reasons behind her mysterious and calculated proposal. Clara raises a single finger, signaling that she has a very specific priority. She prepares to reveal her first condition to Arthur to seal their deal. Arthur listens intently as Clara continues to reveal her deep knowledge of his situation. Arthur remains cautious, his eyes fixed on Clara as he weighs her words.
Clara calmly prepares to present the second condition in their ongoing negotiation. She holds up 2 fingers to emphasize that this next point is critical. With a mysterious smile, Clara prepares to drop a major revelation. Arthur asks for the final condition, feeling the weight of the conversation growing. Clara leans in close to tell him that this last point is the most important. She reaches out and gently touches Arthur's chin, demanding his full attention. Clara comments on how impressive it is that Arthur has managed to stay so calm. The intensity between them rises as Clara holds his gaze during their discussion. Clara asks Arthur for his final decision regarding her serious proposal. A glowing ancient symbol suddenly flares up, signaling a shift in their power dynamic. Arthur stares at Clara, clearly uneasy about the heavy demands she is placing on him. He bluntly calls her proposal illegal, highlighting the dangerous nature of their secret deal. Clara just offers a cold, confident grin, showing she is not bothered by his concerns. She remains calm and composed, ready to push Arthur further into this high-stakes agreement. Arthur listens closely, his eyes focused as he considers the risks of her intense plan. She explains the process of a guild mentoring a cadet to help them grow stronger. They reach a formal agreement, sealing the pact that will change Arthur's path forever. Arthur thinks to himself, realizing he needs to prepare before his next major challenge. The two continue their quiet, tense conversation as the reality of the deal sets in. Clara smiles again, confident that everything is going exactly according to her secret plan. Arthur shifts the topic, choosing to prioritize healing before they move any further ahead. He sees this as a rare, excellent opportunity to gain power despite the risks involved.
Jae-hyun raises his hands and announces he is ready to begin the treatment. Clara smiles gently, trusting him completely with her life and recovery. Victor stands near the door, silently watching the process unfold. He feels nervous and wonders if the spell will actually succeed this time. Victor remembers seeing Jae-hyun's intense light magic work miracles in the past. He knows Jae-hyun's special ability is real beyond any doubt, yet he still gulps nervously, worried about the huge toll it might take. Jae-hyun unleashes a blinding surge of golden energy from his hands. A system notification confirms that his sacrifice skill is now active.
The screen alerts them that intense healing waves are rushing through her body. Clara gasps in astonishment as the golden warmth completely envelops her. Her eyes widen in total awe as she feels her strength returning immediately. Victor stares in disbelief, wondering if Jae-hyun can truly cure Clara's deadly illness. He realizes with shock that the impossible cure is actually happening. Victor bows deeply before Jae-hyun, completely overwhelmed with gratitude and awe. Jae-hyun casually tells him not to worry, understanding why he was skeptical. Victor formally apologizes for doubting Jae-hyun's incredible healing power earlier. A system screen confirms that Clara's illness has been completely cured. Jae-hyun's first aid skill instantly levels up to level 19. Jae-hyun finishes his spell and tells Clara to try moving around. Clara slowly stands up from her chair, feeling healthy once again. Everyone watches in silence as Clara stands on her own 2 feet. Clara reaches her hand toward the warm sunlight, feeling truly free. Clara admires the warm light fluttering around her hands as her strength returns. Tears flow down Clara's face as she realizes her deadly illness is finally gone. She turns around and expresses her sincere gratitude to Jae-hyun. Clara gently asks Jae-hyun if he suffered any side effects from casting the magic. A system message reveals that copying the skill with a blank card negated all penalties. Jae-hyun smirks and reassures her that he feels perfectly fine. Clara smiles softly, happy to know Jae-hyun did not get hurt helping her. Jae-hyun glances down at the card in his hand with a satisfied look. Clara stands beside Victor, both feeling deeply grateful for Jae-hyun's help. The next day comes under a bright and clear sky. A sleek car pulls up to transport Jae-hyun. Victor politely opens the car door for Jae-hyun as he prepares to leave. Jae-hyun steps out of the luxury car as they arrive at their destination. He looks calm and composed as he gets ready for his task. Victor turns to Jae-hyun and explains where they have arrived. They're standing at a low-level dungeon managed by a top field. Both men stand side by side facing the massive glowing dungeon gate. Leaves gently float through the air as Jae-hyun quietly prepares himself. He flashes a confident smile, feeling ready for the challenge ahead. The huge sealed door glows brightly under the warm forest sunlight. A wooden crate sits nearby, packed with health potions and hunting gear. Victor taps a glowing magic staff against his hand before handing it over. Jaehyun inspects the magical staff while Victor watches him with concern. Victor warns Jaehyun that going into any dungeon alone is still very dangerous. Jaehyun holds his staff and explains that he just wants to focus on leveling up. Victor sighs and pulls up an item menu on his glowing screen. He summons a glowing crystal into the palm of his hand. Victor shows Jaehyun the crystal and explains that it is a warp stone. Victor gently places the emergency warp stone into Jaehyun's hands. Victor grins warmly, telling Jaehyun this is the least he can do for him. Jaehyun holds the stone carefully as Victor offers his final words of encouragement. Jaehyun clenches the stone tight in his hand and thanks Victor sincerely. The dungeon portal activates, swirling with powerful blue energy. Jaehyun stands ready in front of the massive blue portal, holding his staff. Jaehyun closes his eyes and reaches into the shimmering light of the portal. Victor watches quietly as Jaehyun steps through the portal and vanishes. Jae smiles and bids farewell to Victor before stepping through the magic portal. As Jae steps forward, a system window confirms his entry into the dungeon. System notifications chime rapidly as the portal's magic begins to glitch. Dark purple energy surges around Jae, swirling mysteriously around his body. Creepy black shadow hands suddenly wrap around Jae, catching him off guard. A system alert reveals that the Nornir system is forcibly teleporting him away. Red warning signs flash as dark magical shadows completely engulf Jae. The portal space breaks apart into purple fragments as Jae vanishes. A system message reveals Jae's new location as the Plaza of the Dead in Helheim. Meanwhile, back at the academy office, Miss Yu sits quietly at her desk. She holds her paperwork with a thoughtful look on her face. Miss Yu worries to herself whether Jae will truly be safe inside the dungeon. Jae remembers asking Ms. Yu for a special favor right before leaving. He asked if she could lend him one of the guild's low-tier items. Ms. Yu had listened to his request with a curious look. She stayed quiet, pondering why he would need such a thing. Then a sly smile slowly spread across her face. Ms. Yu wondered what secret plan Jae was preparing to execute. Suddenly, a sharp knock on her office door interrupts her thoughts. Ms. Yu smiles warmly and tells her visitor to come inside. Jane, her assistant in a dark suit, enters the room and bows. Ms. Yu asks Jane if she brought the document she asked for. Jane hands the requested folder over to Ms. Yu. Ms. Yu opens the file folder to check its contents at her desk. She stands up and makes a phone call to get some answers. Clara gives specific instructions to contact Arthur the moment he leaves the dungeon. She listens intently on the phone, looking for confirmation regarding the situation. Clara watches intently as she prepares to initiate a forced relocation for Arthur. The Nornir system suddenly triggers a mandatory transport protocol for Arthur. Arthur is instantly teleported to the dangerous Plaza of the Dead in Helheim. Dark purple energy swirls violently around the area as he arrives. Arthur is thrown through the air by the powerful magical force. He crashes hard onto the ground while holding onto his weapon. The impact leaves Arthur dazed and struggling to catch his breath. He finds himself standing in a gloomy, mist-filled cemetery under the moonlight. Arthur hits the ground with a heavy thud, clearly exhausted by the trip. He grimaces in pain as he tries to recover from the rough landing. Arthur coughs repeatedly while kneeling in the thick, swirling fog. He wipes his mouth and curses the situation, frustrated by the sudden interference. Arthur stands alone in the dark, his eyes glowing with intense focus. A mysterious glowing light suddenly pulses in the foggy distance. A terrifying, skeletal archer emerges from the shadows to confront him. The eerie light intensifies as the undead creature prepares for battle. The skeleton draws its bow, the wood groaning under the pressure. A powerful magical arrow is launched, slicing through the thick mist. Arthur barely manages to dodge the incoming projectile as it strikes. The shockwave forces Arthur to turn and face his dangerous attacker. The projectile grazes him, leaving a stinging wound on his neck. Arthur spins around to confront the archer standing in the trees. The skeletal figure pulls back its bowstring to fire once again. The archer takes careful aim, ready to strike Arthur down for good. Arthur stands his ground, refusing to let the relentless skeleton archer break him. Realizing the danger, Arthur decides to use a powerful, hidden ability. The system confirms he is sacrificing an active skill to gain an advantage. A mysterious, powerful force reaches out from the darkness to intervene. The skeletal enemy is pulled away, struggling as it crawls across the ground. The air begins to rumble with dark energy as a new threat emerges. Arthur watches nervously as spectral shadows swarm around the battlefield. The skeletal warrior lets out a fierce roar, fueled by the dark magic. A mysterious figure steps out, ready to launch a sudden, deadly assault. An arrow flies through the air with incredible speed toward Arthur. Arthur reacts just in time, catching the magical arrow with his bare hand. With a smirk, Arthur snaps the arrow in half, ready to fight back. Arthur catches the deadly arrow and vows to stop these relentless attacks. Elsewhere, Clara wakes up in her room, feeling uneasy about Arthur's situation. A mysterious woman watches Arthur from afar, plotting her next move against him. Clara sits up in bed, her mind filled with strange and unsettling thoughts. She punches her pillow in frustration, trying to process these confusing memories. Exhausted, Clara collapses back onto her bed as the memories continue to haunt her.
She recalls a past conversation where Arthur admitted he hated crowded public places. It feels strange to her that he would suddenly want to attend a lecture. She remembers a moment on the swings when Arthur urged her to go home. Arthur was always the one to walk her home after they spent time together, but everything changed after that day as he began drifting away from her. Clara lies awake, deeply troubled by the distance growing between her and Arthur. Arthur is exhausted and clearly struggling with the heavy toll of his path. Whatever forced him to change, it must have been a truly massive event.
Clara lies in bed, deep in thought while reflecting on their complicated history. Clara observes Arthur, noting how much he has changed since their past days. She recalls how Arthur now takes forever just to make simple daily decisions. Clara stares ahead, her mind swirling with memories of the person he was. She passes the time on her phone, waiting for a message to arrive. A sudden, aggressive message pops up, filled with threats of physical violence. Arthur suddenly flinches, sensing a strange and dangerous presence nearby. He wonders if the monsters are near or if something else is lurking. He stays alert, trying to pinpoint the source of the dark, malicious aura. Shadowy, grim figures armed with scythes appear, ready to launch a deadly attack. Arthur faces off against a dangerous, well-coordinated group of undead enemies. He realizes these monsters are far more organized than typical dungeon creatures. Arthur feels the pressure of having to take them all down alone. He is relieved to have brought a specific magical tool for this fight. He equips a low-quality staff to help him survive the coming encounter. The staff glows with power. As Arthur prepares for his next move, the story shifts to the dark Norse realm of Helheim, ruled by Hel.
This terrifying place serves as the final destination for the dead. Arthur stares ahead, fully aware of the grim dangers surrounding him now. He considers the frozen, misty realm of Niflheim. He also contemplates the burning, chaotic lands of Muspelheim. Finally, he thinks of Jotunheim, the massive home of the giants.
The journey explores the mystical realms of Alfheim, home to the forest elves. Next, they travel to Svartalfheim, the dark and mysterious land of the dark elves. The path continues toward the ruined, burning landscape of Vanaheim. Vanaheim stands as the ancient home of the powerful Vanir gods. Finally, the freezing, desolate depths of Niflheim come into view. Hidden within that icy abyss lies the dark realm of Helheim. Terrifying undead monsters lurk there, ready to rise from the dead to attack. Jae-hoon explains the sacrifice skill, an inborn ability used for healing allies. This skill acts as a powerful mending spell to restore health and remove debuffs. However, using it against undead foes triggers a secret offensive mode. This transformation is known as Light's Judgment, a devastating holy attack. Jae-hyun proves he understands the true, versatile nature of misused legendary power. Jae-hyun explains that this power can act as a massive, destructive area of effect attack. Jae-hyun swings his staff with incredible speed to intercept the incoming threat. The sound of metal clashing rings out as Jae-hyun blocks the enemy's attack. A terrified, undead warrior rushes forward to strike at Jae-hyun. Jae-hyun lands a powerful, precise blow against the undead attacker. The impact forces the monster to skid backward across the frozen ground. Jae-hyun prepares a new, glowing spell to finish off his opponent. A blinding flash of magical energy erupts, overwhelming the battlefield. Jae-hyun successfully defeats the Wraith and gains experience points for the win. A chilling, high-pitched screech echoes through the dark woods. Jae-hyun stands his ground, bracing for whatever horror approaches next. Jae-hyun dashes forward with incredible speed to close the distance. He swings his staff with a powerful, sweeping motion. Golden energy crackles and gathers around his weapon. The magic concentrates into a sharp, glowing blade of light. Jae-hyun strikes with a massive blast that clears the area. His system confirms he defeated 2 Wraiths and gained experience points. He lands on the ground, ready for the next challenge. Jaehyun grins, knowing he must keep pushing his limits. He quickly moves through the dark, misty forest. He spots a new threat lurking in the shadows ahead. A dangerous skeleton archer prepares to fire at him. Jaehyun reacts instantly and knocks the skeleton's weapon aside. Jaehyun is shocked when his staff suddenly snaps in half during the fight. System alerts confirm the skeleton warrior is defeated and his low-quality staff is destroyed. Jaehyun looks frustrated as he stares at the broken remains of his weapon. He wonders if he has forgotten the basic ways that mages should fight. He remembers his training and prepares to face the dangers of the forest. A skeleton archer lunges forward, but Jaehyun is ready to deflect the incoming strike. He questions his own combat style while facing the relentless enemies in the dark. Jaehyun dodges an attack, moving quickly to avoid being hit by the undead. The forest is filled with dangerous creatures as Jaehyun fights to survive the night. Jaehyun sighs, realizing he became too relaxed and underestimated this difficult mission. He raises his hand, channeling his magical energy for a powerful new attack. With his confidence returning, Jaehyun realizes he doesn't need his old staff to win. Jaehyun activates a powerful skill sacrifice to overcome his current limitations. The air crackles with energy as his magic begins to shift and intensify. The system identifies undead enemies nearby and converts his sacrifice into a lethal attack. He prepares to unleash the devastating skill known as Light's Judgment. A massive explosion of light obliterates everything in the immediate vicinity. Jaehyun successfully destroys a Draugr and earns experience points for the kill. The blast continues to tear through the battlefield with incredible force. He strikes down a wraith, gaining more experience and pushing his limits further. Jaehyun finally gains a level, but he collapses from exhaustion after the fight. The system restores his health and stamina to full as he recovers. He catches his breath while the magical glow slowly fades away. Jaehyun admits he was bluffing to stay confident, but the level up saved him. Jaehyun struggles to breathe as a heavy, suffocating pressure pins him down. He collapses to the ground, gasping for air in the dark environment. The intense strain makes every breath a painful, wheezing ordeal for him. Despite his agony, Jaehyun clutches his weapon and prepares to move again. He forces himself to jab his weapon forward, fighting through the exhaustion. A sharp groan escapes him as he battles the overwhelming physical toll. He covers his mouth, desperately trying to keep quiet and stay focused. He scans the area, his eyes darting through the thick, eerie shadows. Jaehyun stares ahead, wondering what is hiding in the dark before him. A massive, glowing red shadow looms directly over the exhausted warrior. Jaehyun looks up, shocked to see the mysterious shadow taking form. He whispers in confusion, unsure of what this new threat truly is. A terrifying new boss named Nightshade appears before Arthur. The massive creature radiates a dark and deadly aura. Arthur's system warns him that he is severely outmatched. The system urgently tells Arthur to flee the dungeon immediately. Despite the danger, Arthur laughs as he realizes he has a plan. He quickly opens his inventory to find a secret weapon. Nightshade looms over Arthur, ready to strike him down. The boss unleashes a powerful blast of red energy. Arthur grabs a magical blue stone to save himself. The stone activates with a bright flash of light. Arthur prepares to use the item to escape the boss's reach. Nightshade unleashes a terrifying wave of dark energy toward Arthur. The massive boss looms over him, ready to strike a final blow. Arthur narrowly dodges the impact as the ground explodes around him. He tosses the mysterious blue stone, hoping for a miracle. The stone releases a strange protective mist as it hits the ground. The system sends an urgent alert, warning Arthur that his health is critical. A powerful shockwave ripples outward, shaking the very air. Arthur stares up, bracing himself against the overwhelming pressure of his foe. He grits his teeth, refusing to give up despite his severe injuries. The boss continues to hiss, circling Arthur like a predator. With a sudden motion, Nightshade launches another lethal attack. The red energy fills the screen, threatening to consume everything in its path. Arthur struggles to stay conscious as the intense battle drains his remaining strength. His eyes remain tightly shut while he tries to recover from the brutal assault. Suddenly, Arthur opens his glowing red eyes and senses a strange presence nearby. Dark, swirling energy fills the area around him, signaling that something powerful has arrived. Arthur looks up in shock as he realizes he is no longer alone in this space.
He gasps, feeling the weight of an overwhelming and mysterious aura pressing down on him. A pale, ethereal figure steps into view, moving through the thick shadows with ease. The mysterious woman appears before him, radiating a bright and otherworldly light. She speaks softly, calling Arthur a dear guest, while the darkness looms behind her. Arthur watches her intently, still catching his breath as he tries to understand her intentions. The atmosphere shifts dramatically as she prepares to reveal the true reason for his visit. She continues her ominous message, confirming that Arthur's presence here was no accident. A mysterious demon woman with horns appears before Arthur in the darkness.
She calls him the one who will eventually slay her enemy. The woman grabs Arthur by the chin, mocking his youth and vulnerability. She brushes his face, noting that his magical power is actually decent. She shifts her grip, maintaining her hold on his neck while staring intently. She leans in close to warn Arthur that he must become much stronger. She chokes him further, threatening him if he fails his important duty. She warns that failure would bring a terrible hell back to their world. The Demon Queen looms over Arthur, coldly threatening to end his life. Arthur struggles to breathe, desperate to know who this terrifying woman is. The Queen smiles, telling Arthur that his existence is valuable to them. Arthur coughs in pain as the Queen commands him to get stronger. The dark atmosphere intensifies around them as a new challenge begins. The Demon Queen smiles brightly, clearly enjoying Arthur's current suffering. She promises him a special gift if he can successfully triumph. Suddenly, system notifications start popping up in front of Arthur. A new main quest officially appears for Arthur to complete. The Queen gives Arthur a 2-month deadline to defeat his target. The quest details reveal he must defeat Nightshade to win. Failure means death, and Arthur has 60 days to survive. Arthur feels intense pressure as dark, shadowy energy swirls violently around his body. Injured and struggling, Arthur fights to maintain control against the overwhelming dark power. A menacing voice reminds Arthur not to forget the stakes of his trial. The Demon Queen appears, warning him that he must improve before time runs out. She coldly threatens to end Arthur's life herself if he fails the challenge. The Demon Queen acknowledges Arthur as a child chosen by the powerful Nornir. With a final chilling remark, she mockingly wishes him the best of luck. A massive explosion of light and energy erupts, signaling a sudden, major shift. The environment flickers and glitches as if the very world is breaking apart. A glowing light emerges from the chaos, revealing a mysterious new figure. A beautiful, bright woman appears before Arthur, offering a stark contrast to the darkness. The golden light intensifies, signaling a significant encounter for our hero, Arthur. A mysterious hand reaches down to Jay in a fading vision. Jay blinks his eyes open and sees bright sunlight filtering through the trees. Looking up at the tall trees, Jay wonders where he was just transported. Jay wakes up on the ground outside, confused by what just happened to him. He realizes he was returned back outside in front of the giant dungeon gate. Jay touches his chest, realizing the mysterious horned woman was definitely not human. A system screen pops up, giving Jay 60 days to complete Hell's deadly quest. Seeing the quest notification, Jay confirms that his strange encounter was not a dream. The system screen names his quest giver as Hell, the feared goddess of death. Jay recalls the ominous, smiling goddess of death who rules over Helheim. He realizes that he just met an actual god of death from ancient mythology. Jay stands there in disbelief, completely stunned that he met a real goddess. Hell looks down sinisterly as she recognizes Jay as the chosen human. She reaches out her hand, calling Jay the prophesied child of defiance. Hell wonders why Loki chose an ordinary human like Jay to defy destiny. Jay opens his eyes and gathers his thoughts while sitting on the ground. He sighs softly, still unable to figure out why he was sent back in time. Jay firmly clenches his fist into the dirt with renewed focus. He determines that he must get stronger as fast as possible to survive. Jay knows that if everything Hell warned him about is completely true, he has no time to waste. The second he stops progressing, his countdown toward death will resume. A terrifying image of Hell reminds Jay of the grim fate that awaits him if he fails. Jay stands up in the forest, determined to keep pushing forward without stopping. He admits that his overall approach to combat still needs a lot of work. In his previous fights, he never truly learned how to fight as a proper spellcaster. He realizes that mastering magic combat tactics is crucial for his survival going forward. Jay pulls out his smartphone, knowing he needs to solidify his foundation right away. He opens his messages to contact Miss Yu regarding his next moves. A message pops up from Miss Yu saying she has news to share with him. She asks him if he will be available to meet up with her tomorrow. Jay realizes her invitation arrived at the perfect time for his training plans. He smiles brightly as he gets ready to type out his reply.
He texts back that he is seriously considering her contract offer in a positive light. Jay grins confidently, excited to take another major step forward in his growth. Jay texts back that he is leaning toward accepting her contract offer. However, he adds that he has one special request for her first. The next day, Jay arrives at the crowded guild facility for their meeting. A guild agent guides Jay down the hallway to meet her. Jay stays focused on his goal to secure a proper magician trainer. He carefully plans how to negotiate his terms during this meeting. They continue walking down the quiet stairs together toward the lobby.
The agent mutters in frustration about rival organizations trying to recruit Jay. As they step into the hallway, a striking woman stands waiting for them. Jay pauses and fixes his eyes on her standing ahead. Miss Yu turns around dramatically in her sleek black outfit. She greets Jay with a warm, confident smile on her face. Miss Yu turns around with a confident smile on her face. She looks pleased and ready to listen to Jay's terms. Jay stands near the entrance and greets her with a calm tone. Jay smirks, knowing this contract gives him every advantage with zero risk. He mentions that he has one final request before signing the contract. Miss Yu smiles pleasantly and asks him to state his request. She listens closely, curious about what Jay will ask for. Jay explains that he recently shifted his focus to learning magic. He admits that he is still a beginner when it comes to spellcasting. Jay places a hand on his chest and looks at her seriously. Miss Yu waits patiently, listening to every word he says. Jay fixes his sharp eyes on her, determined to get what he needs. The agent admits to himself that Jay was special from the moment they first met. Miss Yu smiles playfully, clearly amused by Jay's bold request. Miss Yu admits she's also very interested in him, so Jay welcomes her as his instructor. Jay looks at her calmly and asks if she is really okay with this deal. Miss Yu just grins back at him with absolute confidence. The agent gulps nervously, sensing the intense aura building up in the room. Jay asks if she wants to test his power right now, and she agrees. Miss Yu snaps her fingers with a confident smile. A sudden blast of powerful magic erupts across the entire room. A massive wave of blue energy surrounds Jay and shocks the agent. Miss Yu creates a magic training space so they can fight freely. Miss Yu smirks at Jay, ready to see what he can truly do. Miss Yu tells Jay he must overcome this intense trial to prove his actual strength. A giant, swirling circle of blue magic energy appears inside the white training hall. Jay is shocked when he realizes the magic field is a deadly mana cube. Miss Yu smirks and reminds Jay about their deal, eager to test his limits. Jay knows that only a small fraction of mages can ever survive this test. Miss Yu watches Jay closely to see if he will try to back out now. She smiles confidently, waiting for him to step up to the magic barrier. Jay determines that he cannot back down now and must go all in. He nods firmly, ready to push forward no matter what happens to him. Suitman nervously asks Miss Yu if this extreme test is really necessary. He warns her that even fully trained professional mages struggle with mana cubes. Ignoring the danger, Jay stares into the glowing vortex and prepares to enter. The mysterious woman smiles, suggesting that the risk is worth the reward. Arthur nods, accepting the dangerous path laid out before him. He reaches out to touch the sleek, dark console on the wall. His finger presses against the interface, triggering a glowing blue security unlock. Energy surges as a massive, swirling portal of light erupts before him. Arthur takes a deep breath, steeling his nerves for what lies ahead. The woman gestures toward the portal, ready for their journey to begin. Arthur steps forward, moving closer to the brilliant, humming energy field. He sighs, preparing himself for the intense transition he is about to face. The light intensifies, wrapping around him as he steps into the void. Arthur fully enters the portal, disappearing into the shimmering, magical blue light. The woman watches silently as the gateway closes behind him. Arthur questions the mysterious woman about her confidence regarding his future. The woman simply smiles, keeping her true motives hidden for now. Arthur presses her again, demanding to know why she is so sure. She gives him a sly, knowing grin that unsettles him. She claims it is just a gut feeling as Arthur watches her closely. With a final look, she prepares to send him on his way. Arthur suddenly finds himself sinking into a strange, glowing underwater realm. He floats through the deep blue space, surrounded by shimmering bubbles. He realizes he is submerged in an incredibly dense sea of pure mana. The environment glows with an intense, magical light all around him. Arthur is relieved to discover he can breathe normally without suffering from mana poisoning. He begins to swim through the energy, though he knows staying here is dangerous. Arthur discovers a mysterious glowing crystal floating inside the sea of pure mana. He feels overwhelmed by the immense power radiating from the object. The crystal seems to hold all the energy of the entire sea.
Back outside, a man named Victor watches as his companion discusses Arthur's escape. Victor remains silent, clearly deep in thought about the situation. His companion notes that Arthur has always achieved the seemingly impossible. Victor wonders how much longer Arthur will take to finish his task. She replies that Arthur has already surpassed the national record. Victor looks troubled by the news of Arthur's rapid progress. He continues to contemplate what this means for their plans. The woman keeps a watchful, calm gaze on him as they wait. Victor watches the screen closely as Arthur breaks another incredible record. The system announces that Arthur has reached a brand new milestone. A powerful surge of energy begins to glow inside the mysterious crystal. His companion, Lily, smiles as she realizes how much Arthur has grown. Victor nods in silent agreement, clearly impressed by Arthur's rapid progress. Suddenly, Lily notices something strange happening with the glowing mana crystal. She calls out to Victor, pointing toward the screen in total shock. Victor quickly turns his head to see what has caught her attention. His eyes widen as he realizes the dangerous situation unfolding before them. The mana cube begins to crack under the pressure of the intense energy. More spiderweb cracks spread rapidly across the surface of the glowing object. Victor gasps in fear, realizing the mana cube is about to shatter. Victor and Lily turn toward each other, sensing that something is terribly wrong. Victor quickly presses a button on his device to check the system status. His eyes widen in shock as the screen displays a dire 10-minute warning. Both Victor and Lily gulp in fear as they realize the danger ahead. The mana cube begins to glow with intense, unstable energy. They watch in horror, wondering what is happening inside the containment field. The surface of the cube starts to fracture under the immense pressure. More cracks spread rapidly across the glowing blue surface of the device. Victor and Lily stand frozen, unable to do anything but watch the catastrophe. Violent surges of power rip through the air as the cube destabilizes. Everyone is left terrified, questioning the fate of the experiment inside. Arthur stares as a massive burst of magical energy erupts before him. Arthur leaps into the air to confront the failing energy source. The unstable mana cube glows with a blinding, dangerous light. Arthur knows he must destroy the core to stop the disaster. He dives directly into the swirling magical storm. Arthur reaches out his hand to grab the powerful object. His fingers tighten as the crystal begins to crack under pressure. With a mighty squeeze, Arthur shatters the crystal into pieces. The ground shakes as the energy field begins to collapse. Arthur looks on as the wild magic finally starts to fade. A system notification confirms he has successfully acquired the special crystal. The device explodes in a final burst of blue light. Victor and Lily watch in shock as the chaos finally ends. Jaehyun is stunned and can barely believe what he is seeing. The mysterious figure walks forward, leaving the mana cube behind him. Jaehyun rubs his head, feeling the physical toll of the intense trial. The man in the suit is shocked by Jaehyun's incredible performance. He recalls the legendary world record held by a famous prodigy. Camilla was the fastest, finishing the difficult trial in 36 minutes. Jaehyun brushes himself off, seemingly unfazed by his own massive achievement. The suit man realizes Jaehyun has absolutely shattered the previous world record. They start walking toward the exit to finalize the results. The man grabs Jaehyun's hands, amazed that he finished in just 10 minutes. A mysterious woman turns around to address the two of them. She looks calm but focused as she prepares to speak to Jaehyun. Jaehyun is shocked as he realizes the significance of what he just did. The mysterious woman grabs his hands, clearly stunned by his incredible power. She explains that the crystal inside the cube holds all the mana. Most people could never even find the crystal, let alone break it. Jaehyun wonders what this means for his future and his hidden abilities. The woman shudders with excitement as she realizes Jaehyun's true potential.
She moves past him, leaving him confused about her strange, friendly behavior. Jaehyun watches her, trying to process everything that just happened today. She reaches out to him, acting as if she has a special proposal. Her expression is bright and mysterious as she looks directly at him. Meanwhile, two young women wait for someone who is running late. They complain that he is behind schedule and hasn't shown up yet. A luxury black limousine pulls up to the curb with a loud vroom. Two young women watch the fancy car arrive with surprise. The vehicle comes to a sudden stop with a sharp screech of tires. Jaehyun steps out of the limousine while a man in a suit waits. The two women look at him in disbelief as he arrives. Jaehyun tells the man in the suit that he will see him tomorrow. Jaehyun gives a quick, casual wave to say goodbye to the driver. The women seem confused and ask if he is really planning to do it. One woman sits down, looking serious and crossing her arms tightly. She stares ahead with a determined expression on her face. Back in his room, Jaehyun says he is already preparing to become a mage. He looks focused as he thinks about his upcoming magical training. A young woman with bright hair sits down to talk with Jaehyun. She complains about how things are always changing around them. She questions why Jaehyun chose to become a brawler instead of something else. She mentions that being a mage is a difficult way to make money. Jaehyun looks stressed and serious while listening to her concerns. He keeps a calm, focused gaze while she continues to speak. Jaehyun decides it is time to stop talking about this subject. He asks her directly why she came to visit him today. She relaxes on his bed, mentioning that his mom allowed her to stay. Jaehyun is confused and frustrated by her sudden presence in his room. She just brushes off his annoyance and tells him to forget about it. Elsewhere, researchers study a large monster to export goods made from it. A mysterious young woman relaxes on Jaehyun's bed, acting like she belongs there. She spends a lot of time alone, so she often comes over for sleepovers. They share a close bond, making these visits a normal part of their routine. Jaehyun looks at her, clearly frustrated by her sudden presence in his room. She brushes off his annoyance with a dismissive huff, refusing to leave. Jaehyun demands to know exactly what she wants from him today. The woman pauses to think, keeping her true intentions hidden for a moment. She sits quietly on the bed while Jaehyun waits for her to explain. A sly grin spreads across her face as she plots her next move. She gives him a playful look, clearly enjoying teasing him. Jaehyun sighs and tells her to just leave the matter alone for now. She complains that his reaction isn't fair, but finally agrees to drop it. Jaehyun smirks while thinking about the long year ahead of them. He teases the young woman, claiming she looks uglier than usual today. The young woman gets annoyed and squeezes her pillow in frustration. She hits him with the pillow, telling him to stop being so rude. The pillow strikes him with a loud crash as they continue their scuffle. Suddenly, a voice from the kitchen announces that the food is ready. A mysterious woman stands in the kitchen, calmly preparing a meal. The young woman looks back, seemingly surprised by the sudden interruption. She swings the pillow one last time with a playful, wide grin. Jaehyun blocks the attack, laughing off the playful morning chaos. He smiles brightly, clearly enjoying the lively atmosphere in his home. Outside, birds fly across the sunset sky as the day comes to an end. The sun sets over the horizon, casting a dark red glow across the sky. Crows with glowing red eyes swarm the area, creating an eerie atmosphere. A sharp blade strikes down with intense force, piercing its target deep. The weapon plunges into the creature's head, spraying dark blood everywhere. Jaehyun stands tall, looking battle-worn but determined after the violent encounter. The birds circle above the forest, watching the aftermath of the fight. Jaehyun stands before the massive, defeated serpent, master of the field. A mysterious armored warrior approaches Jaehyun, offering his support. The warrior smiles, telling Jaehyun that he cannot do this alone. Jaehyun listens quietly, showing his appreciation for the unexpected help. With a swift motion, they strike again, finishing off the dangerous beast. A mysterious armored warrior approaches Arthur, hoping to gain a powerful advantage. The warrior leans in close, clearly looking for something from Arthur. He reaches out and grabs Arthur by the clothing. Arthur stares back with intense, glowing eyes that reveal his true power. The warrior speaks, but he seems completely unaware of the danger he is in. Arthur gives a cold, chilling smile, showing he is not intimidated at all. He turns his attention toward the warrior, ready to unleash his hidden strength. Dark feathers begin to flutter around the area as the atmosphere grows heavy. Arthur stands surrounded by a dark, swirling aura of pure energy.
He raises his hand as heavy, glowing chains materialize out of thin air. The warrior watches in pure terror as the chains start to surround him. The chains lash out, binding the warrior in a powerful, inescapable hold. Arthur holds a sphere of dark energy in his hand. He thinks about how greedy and selfish people act. He wonders if such greed is just part of human nature. Arthur stares intensely as he considers this dark truth. He decides that greed is not strictly human at all. Dark energy transforms into a swarm of black crows. The crows fly away, leaving the battlefield empty.
A quick flash of light brings Arthur back to reality. Arthur looks around, wondering why he was fighting there. Clara tells Arthur she needs to test his battle skills. Arthur stands ready, listening to Clara's instructions for training. Arthur laughs, realizing his training will be very difficult. Clara smiles, sarcastically commenting on Arthur's destructive power during their training. She signals for him to begin, her expression calm and ready. Arthur groans, knowing exactly what kind of grueling session she has planned. He catches his breath and prepares himself for the intense physical challenge ahead. Arthur slides into a defensive stance, his body tense and focused.
Clara watches him closely, her eyes glowing with a sharp, focused intensity. She guides him through the basics, starting with his left foot forward. She commands him to keep his knees slightly bent for better balance. She tells him to lower his shoulders to maintain a stable posture. Arthur adopts the perfect form, his energy swirling around him. He moves to strike, testing his limits under her watchful gaze. Clara remains composed, unimpressed as she continues to push Arthur to his absolute breaking point. Arthur throws a powerful punch, but his opponent easily blocks the strike. The intense impact creates a loud cracking sound during their sparring match. Arthur breathes heavily, his eyes focused and alert after the failed attack. Clara watches him with a confident, knowing smirk on her face. Clara moves with lightning speed, grabbing Arthur's arm to control the flow. She gracefully leaps away, staying light on her feet during the training. Arthur feels frustrated that none of his attacks managed to land properly. Clara walks toward him, her footsteps echoing clearly in the training room. Arthur respectfully acknowledges his mentor's superior skills while catching his breath. Clara pauses for a moment, deep in thought about Arthur's current progress. She calls out to him, ready to give him more feedback on his performance.
Arthur listens intently as Clara prepares to critique his fighting style further. Clara nods, confirming that Arthur's training is about to reach a new level. She conjures a powerful, glowing, magical seal to prepare for their next phase. Arthur stands ready, facing his mentor and the daunting challenge ahead of him. Clara commands him to raise his guard, signaling that the real test begins now. Arthur braces himself, feeling the intense pressure of Clara's sudden shift in power.
Clara maintains her confident smile while weaving her intricate magical techniques. Arthur shivers, feeling both the danger and the thrill of their combat. Energy swirls around Clara's hand as she unleashes a fast, focused magical blast. Clara glides forward, her elegant movements leaving a trail of glowing light. Clara channels her energy, preparing to launch a powerful magical assault on Arthur. She commands Arthur to stop holding back and face her with everything he has. Arthur stays alert, his eyes locked on her as he prepares to dodge. Clara fires a blinding beam of light, forcing Arthur to scramble out of the way. The energy blast streaks through the air, narrowly missing its target. Arthur rolls across the floor to avoid the deadly follow-up strike. He slides into position, quickly regaining his footing after the intense dodge. Clara calmly steps forward, telling Arthur that it is now his turn to attack. Arthur triggers his own power and golden electricity crackles around his body. He activates his skill, Chains of Shock, to turn the tide of the battle. Bright electrified chains materialize, ready to strike at his mentor. Arthur launches the crackling chains toward Clara with incredible speed and force. Arthur unleashes his powerful electricity, surrounding Clara with crackling energy and bright light. Explosions rock the training ground as Arthur's lightning strikes the floor with immense force. Arthur crouches low, readying himself for another strike while the dust settles around him. Clara stands calm, taunting Arthur about how much power he is still holding back. Clara summons a glowing blue diamond shield to deflect Arthur's incoming attacks with ease. A sharp beam of blue energy streaks past Arthur, narrowly missing his body during combat. The energy blast strikes the ground, creating a thick cloud of smoke and debris nearby. Arthur stares in frustration, realizing his current attacks are not enough to hit her.
Clara remains composed, effortlessly guiding the energy currents away from her with a wave. The powerful blast continues to miss Clara, exploding harmlessly into the distance behind her. Clara smiles confidently, mocking Arthur because his best attacks cannot find their mark. Arthur stands alone in the haze, realizing he needs a new plan to reach her. Dust clears across the room as Jay catches his breath. Jay stands panting heavily, battered from the intense attack. Miss Yu is surprised to see him still standing after her strike. She conjures more magical projectiles around herself to test him further. Jay takes a deep breath and focuses his energy despite his fatigue. His eye glows brightly as he activates his eye skill. Magical energy surges around the training room as Jay targets her spells. A system message appears, initiating Jay's special calculation skill. The system instantly dismantles and shatters Miss Yu's magic arrows. Miss Yu gasps in total shock as her magic breaks apart.
She stares at Jay in disbelief after her spells are destroyed. Miss Yu rests her hand on her chin, thoroughly impressed by Jay's power. Jay smirks with confidence as bright magic sparks around his hand. Sparks of electrical energy surge directly toward Miss Yu. Miss Yu looks shocked by the incredible speed of Jay's counterattack. Jay's lightning attack strikes hard against her magic barrier. A bright energy clash shatters the air between them. Miss Yu raises her hand, completely stunned by his blistering speed. Her hand shakes uncontrollably and goes numb from the heavy impact. She stares at Jay, amazed by his shocking level of strength. Sparks of lightning buzz and slowly disperse across the arena. Jay stands tall while the leftover energy swirls around him. Miss Yu slowly lowers her shield as the magic settles. Jay sighs with relief after finishing his exhausting attack. Miss Yu stares intently at Jay, amazed by the sheer force behind his strike. Jay trembles uncontrollably as his mana drains completely after that massive attack. Miss Yu smiles calmly and acknowledges that Jay is full of impressive potential. Jay watches her closely, sensing another sudden movement before he can recover. Before Jay can react, Miss Yu moves so fast the world seems to spin.
Jay gets flipped upside down in midair, caught completely off guard. Miss Yu effortlessly throws him while telling him he still has a long way to go. Jay tumbles backwards through the air while Miss Yu disengages smoothly. He hits the training ground floor with a hard crash. Jay lies flat on his back, staring up completely dazed by her speed. Miss Yu leans down over him with a playful smirk on her face. Jay reaches out with his last bit of strength and grabs onto Miss Yu. Miss Yu effortlessly flips Jay upside down through the air. Jay slams heavily onto the ground while Miss Yu cleanly lands on her feet.
Jay gets back up, looking completely exhausted, but still focused. Miss Yu stands before him with a warm and satisfied expression. She reflects on how rapidly Jay was able to cast his high-level spells. She feels genuinely impressed by Jay's remarkable talent and progress. Miss Yu chats casually with Jay as he quietly listens to her feedback. She smirks and asks if he noticed the mistake he made in battle. Jay looks thoughtful as he tries to pinpoint what went wrong. Miss Yu gets ready to teach him how to fix his combat technique. Miss Yu grins proudly after giving Jay feedback on his recent battle mistake. Jay sits at his desk, ready to focus on studying his magic theory. Suddenly, a loud voice startles Jay while he works on his assignment. It is Chloe, who glares at him while eating dessert with a spoon. Jay looks annoyed as Chloe messily devours her ice cream right beside him. He nervously tries to ignore her snack attack and get back to work. Chloe shows off a tall stack of empty dessert cups she finished. She wipes her mouth and offers to help break down the spell diagrams. Jay watches in awe as Chloe easily draws precise magic formulas in his book. A system window pops up to announce Jay's magic understanding has increased. Another alert confirms his overall spell efficiency has gone up by 5%. Jay checks the glowing notification, thrilled by his sudden improvement. Jay notices how the system immediately notifies him whenever his magic understanding and stats increase. It feels as if the system is desperately urging him to grow stronger as fast as possible. Chloe watches Jay in surprise, amazed by how quickly he is absorbing all the difficult concepts. Jay casually spins his pen while asking if she really memorized all the material in 3 days. Chloe throws a funny tantrum, frustrated that Jay is grasping magic formulas faster than she did. She pouts with her arms crossed, claiming she still holds the advantage of studying magic first. Chloe squirming on the desk, whining about her senior status, makes Jay watch her with a deadpan face. Jay lets out a sigh, reflecting on why he pushes himself so relentlessly every day. He knows he has an urgent and crucial reason to keep gaining power without resting. A dark vision of the Demon Queen reminds him of the terrifying threat waiting in his future. Chloe grabs her paper cup, pulling Jay away from his dark thoughts back to reality. Chloe eats her snack while remembering how stunned she was by Jay's growth. She takes a bite and continues talking casually about his magic skills. Chloe dramatically points her spoon at Jay to make her point clear. Jay looks back nervously, caught off guard as the spoon gets close. Suddenly, Jay feels his heart thump heavily as a dark vision triggers. Glowing red chains appear around Jay, trapping him in a vision realm. Powerful dark energy and fiery chains swirl violently all around him. Jay turns in shock to see a mysterious, shadowy figure behind him. A dark voice inside the vision questions who truly chose this fate. The dark entity stands silently, wrapped in heavy, burning red chains. Fiery red aura flares around the figure as eerie doubts swirl around. The mysterious figure speaks right beside Jay, questioning his chosen path. Arthur feels his chains of power breaking apart under the pressure. Clara adjusts her glasses while looking down at him. She tells Arthur he needs to change his approach immediately. Arthur listens closely, realizing his current plan is failing. A mysterious woman appears, claiming she heard a strange noise. Arthur remains silent, focusing intently on her words. The woman speaks of a 2-month deadline for their mission. She insists that Arthur must be defeated within that time frame. Arthur closes his eyes, processing the weight of this challenge. He holds his pen, deep in thought about his next move. Suddenly, a well-dressed man enters the scene with a smile.
This newcomer named Julian greets them with a calm expression. Arthur considers if a legendary item could solve his impossible training dilemma. He wonders if a rare elixir exists to help him overcome his current struggles. He hopes for a miracle remedy to change his difficult situation. Nearby, the sounds of intense combat echo through the training grounds. Arthur observes other fighters practicing their skills in the large hall. A mysterious figure walks across the floor, watching the students closely. The mentor critiques a student's posture, pointing out flaws in their technique. The mentor warns Jane that her magical spellcasting is far too slow. The mysterious woman approaches the man to discuss the current training group. She notes that this year's class is stronger than the previous group. The woman pauses for a moment, appearing slightly distracted by her thoughts. The man smirks and asks if she has been thinking about Arthur lately. A dark and ominous energy begins to boil inside the large metal pot. The contents swirl with a violent supernatural red and purple glow. The pot shakes intensely as the mysterious substance inside continues to heat up. Arthur watches with a nervous expression as he holds a large ladle. Arthur strikes the side of the pot, frustrated with the difficult process. He runs a hand through his hair, clearly stressed by his lack of progress. He stares at the grimy, neglected kitchen sink and feels a sense of disgust. Arthur bites his finger, drawing a drop of blood to use in his experiment. He adds his blood to the pot, watching as it begins to bubble and react. Arthur sits on the floor, exhausted and defeated by the kitchen mess. He looks toward the pot with a focused, determined gaze in his eyes. Arthur realizes that some secrets are his alone to hold for now. A famous alchemist once shared a secret recipe with the world for free. He hoped this special elixir would help people everywhere. The alchemist believed it would be a great tool for all raiders. Arthur stands up, ready to begin his next big move. He smiles, feeling confident about his plan for the future. Arthur recalls the alchemist's words as he prepares to leave. He knows exactly where he needs to go to succeed. Arthur prepares his gear, knowing he is in the early stages of his journey. His eyes narrow with determination as he focuses on his goal. He has finally decided on his next important destination. Arthur sets his sights on arriving at the famous Mills Academy. The city is now covered by a strange and glowing blue force field. A woman enters a dark, messy room and calls out for Arthur. A sudden loud noise scares her in the middle of the room. She stands frozen, holding a box while looking at a large, dirty spoon. She turns around, disgusted by the filthy state of the apartment. She grabs a cooking pan, wondering why a thief would leave such a mess. The world changed forever after the giant Yggdrasil tree appeared. Terrifying monsters invaded, putting all of humanity in grave danger. However, a few gifted individuals stood up to fight back. These strong warriors quickly claimed their power and influence. They were the first ones to master their newfound abilities. But then, those first heroes suddenly vanished without leaving a trace. The man is searching for a young man named Jae-sung. He describes a dangerous place where monsters attack without warning. This chaotic and ruined city is now known as Daegu. Arthur denies a request while remaining calm and composed. He takes a deep breath before moving forward. Arthur stands before a massive glowing energy shield protecting the city. He stares intensely at the barrier blocking his path. Arthur ignores the obstacles and continues walking ahead. The area is filled with dangerous monsters that still roam freely. Arthur arrives at a secure building filled with many people. He wears a visitor's pass to blend into the crowd unnoticed. He thinks about Jae-sung, noting that his fighting skills are quite average.
Jaehyun is not a fan of combat, so he avoids the local training facilities. He pauses in the hallway, deep in thought about his next move. Jaehyun decides he should visit the lecture hall before doing anything else. He hears someone nearby and suddenly stops to listen closely. He turns his head, noticing a group of people making a lot of noise. The men near him seem nervous and start talking about a stutterer. Jaehyun looks surprised by this unexpected comment about a stuttering person. He stares intensely, his expression becoming serious as he processes the information. His eyes glow with a sharp, focused intensity in the dim light.
Jaehyun suddenly strikes the men, catching them completely off guard. His gaze remains cold and dangerous as he confronts them. He walks away with confidence, leaving the intimidated men behind him. Jaehyun forcefully shoves the bully, catching him completely off guard. He grabs the man by his shoulders to stop him from running. The terrified man stammers an apology while his friend watches from behind. Jaehyun's eyes glow with a menacing, supernatural light. He coldly asks if they really want to mess with the stutterer. His intense, glowing gaze intimidates the men into total silence. The bully is left panting and shaken by Jaehyun's sudden display of power.
He looks up at Jaehyun with wide, fearful eyes, completely overwhelmed. The man continues to breathe heavily, unable to find the words to respond. Tears well up in his eyes as he realizes he is outmatched. Jaehyun turns his back on them, dismissing the pathetic pair entirely. The bully flinches, clearly terrified to even move while Jaehyun is near. Jaehyun stares down the nervous student who seems confused and terrified by his presence. Jaehyun reaches out, mocking the student for his stuttering and obvious fear. He looms over the student, noting that they look nothing like each other. The student grits his teeth, remembering how everyone else was supposedly killed by monsters.
Jaehyun watches him closely, waiting to see how the young man will react. Jaehyun suddenly strikes the air with supernatural force, creating a bright, intimidating flash. The older man watching the scene narrows his eyes, clearly impressed by the display. The student is left completely stunned and trembling after Jaehyun's sudden, powerful movement. Jaehyun smiles calmly, suggesting they take the student to the health center. The student stares with wide, swirling eyes, unable to process what just happened. The older man scoffs, a dark frown appearing on his weathered face. Jaehyun reaches out and firmly grabs the student, taking complete control of the situation. The aggressive man threatens Jaehyun, asking if he's looking to die today. Jaehyun stares back calmly, completely unfazed by the man's intense hostility. The terrified boy tries to intervene, begging the two men to stop fighting. Jaehyun remains silent, focusing his energy as he prepares a dangerous counterattack. He visualizes flowing water, channeling his magical power to form a sharp weapon. With intense focus, Jaehyun shapes the water into a precise, lethal magical construct. He then visualizes a ray of light, sharpening his intent to strike like an arrow. Jaehyun commands the magic to manifest, ready to unleash his hidden power.
A system notification confirms he is successfully initiating the Holy Arrow skill. Jaehyun strikes, blasting the man with a powerful, concentrated burst of light. The man reels back in pain as the direct hit leaves him severely injured. Jaehyun stands his ground against the mysterious, towering shadow looming over him. Jaehyun is shocked by the incredible magical power he just displayed. The onlookers are completely confused and whispering about what just happened. They cannot believe that such a simple skill caused so much destruction. The mysterious man scowls, his expression twisted in pure frustration. He grinds his teeth, clearly humiliated by the sudden turn of events. Jaehyun watches calmly as the man prepares to attack him again. The man lashes out in anger, calling Jaehyun a little prick. A bright flash of light erupts as the man swings his weapon. Jaehyun cries out in alarm, warning everyone to watch out. The man swings his blade with deadly force, aiming directly at Jaehyun. Jaehyun's eyes glow with intense power as he prepares to counter. Jaehyun focuses his intense gaze, preparing to counter his opponent's aggressive strike. He prepares to harness the incoming energy and bounce it right back. Jaehyun reaches out his hand, channeling his own internal power. He activates his special ability, the Mana Force Field, to defend himself. With a flick of his wrist, he easily swats his opponent's sword away.
Jaehyun stands calm and collected, his eyes glowing with newfound power. His opponent gasps in shock, completely caught off guard by the move. Jaehyun grabs his opponent by the face with a swift, powerful motion. He squeezes tight, pinning his opponent down while he struggles to breathe. Jaehyun stares down at him, coldly asking if he is finished yet. With a sudden burst of energy, he prepares his next devastating attack. Jaehyun initiates the Holy Arrow skill, ready to end the fight decisively. The defeated opponent loses consciousness after Jaehyun's overwhelming display of power. His body crashes hard against the ground with a heavy thud. Jaehyun stands calmly over his fallen enemy as the dust begins to settle. A young boy watches in shock and confusion, wondering who this powerful stranger is. Jaehyun ignores the boy and starts cleaning his hands with a casual motion. His intense, glowing eyes remain focused on the task at hand. He keeps a cold and composed expression while the battle ends. The defeated man lies motionless, completely unable to continue the fight. Jaehyun glances at the nervous boy standing nearby.
Jaehyun dismissively remarks that things have always been this way. He suddenly manifests a glowing magical item out of thin air. He holds the mysterious red potion, showing that the fight was never a challenge.
Arthur holds up a mysterious red bottle with a glowing golden emblem. Jae-song watches with wide, terrified eyes as Arthur prepares to use the item. Arthur pops the top off the bottle to release the strange substance inside. He pours the glowing red liquid out, and it begins to flow like magic. The liquid rises into the air, swirling around Jae-song like a living flame. The magical energy splashes directly onto Jae-song's face with a sudden impact. Jae-song's heart starts pounding rapidly as the substance takes effect. Arthur watches calmly, noting that the potion's effects are exactly as he expected.
Jae-song trembles uncontrollably while Arthur explains the power he just bestowed. Arthur's eyes glow with a sharp, intense light as he observes the change. Jae-song's eyes transform, glowing with a strange new power from the potion. The two men walk away together through the quiet hallway of the building. Jae-song encounters a man and instinctively calls out to him, shocked by the sudden meeting. The man calmly speaks, noting that nobody else should be able to hear them here. Jae-song stares in disbelief, his eyes glowing with the power of the mythic item. He wonders if this stranger approached him specifically because he knew about his secret power.
Jae-song hesitates, nervously addressing the man as his father in a moment of confusion. The man denies this, claiming there is a simple misunderstanding between them right now. He asks how Jae-song could possibly know who he is, keeping his expression cool. Jae-song remains silent, staring intensely while trying to process the man's mysterious, calm behavior. He finally finds his voice, asking why the man sought him out for a favor. The man confirms he needs a favor and asks Jae-song to help him with it. He explains that he needs Jae-song to create a very specific type of medicine. The man reaches into his pocket, preparing to show Jae-song exactly what he needs. The stranger reveals a mysterious bottle containing a strange glowing eye. Jae-song gasps in complete shock at the sight of the item. His heart pounds as he realizes the significance of what is happening. The stranger claims he knows everything about Jae-song's deepest secrets. He mocks Jae-song for thinking his black market activities could remain hidden. Jae-song is forced to admit that the stranger is actually right. The system confirms that a transaction occurred within the black market. The notification shows that a rare item was successfully posted for sale. The system then reports that the item has officially been sold. The stranger touches his own face while speaking about the item. He explains that the power of the eye is truly immense. He admits he never would have sold it if he had a choice. The stranger stares intensely, his golden eye glowing with a mysterious, dangerous power. Jae-song watches him, feeling nervous as the stranger begins to explain his true intentions. The stranger holds up a rare potion, admitting that he never meant to sell it. He shakes the bottle while telling Jae-song that this item is far too dangerous. Jae-song is completely overwhelmed, his mind swirling with confusion as he listens to the man. The stranger remains calm, telling Jae-song that he understands the situation perfectly well. However, he coldly adds that he simply does not have any time to waste. Jae-song looks at a shelf filled with identical glowing potions sitting in the room. A digital system window flickers into view as the stranger interacts with the air. The system confirms that the dangerous potion has been listed on the black market. Jae-song winces in pain, struggling to keep his composure during this intense interaction. The stranger places a firm hand on Jae-song's shoulder to keep him steady. The stranger hands the glowing potion bottle directly to Jae-song. Jae-song reaches out and takes the mysterious item into his own hands. Jae-song stares at the glowing bottle, feeling completely confused by the stranger's actions. The bottle holds a strange, powerful symbol inside that pulses with light.
Jae-sung looks up, his eyes wide as he tries to process what is happening. The stranger watches him, wondering if he was sent by someone else. The stranger finally speaks up to address Jae-sung directly. He tells Jae-sung that he is a student hoping to join Miles Academy. Jae-sung mumbles the stranger's name, Jae-hyun, feeling uneasy about their meeting.
Jae-sung clenches the bottle tightly in his hand, feeling the weight of the object. Jae-sung turns around, still feeling uncertain about the stranger's true intentions. The two stand together in the room, creating a tense and quiet atmosphere. Jae-hyun smiles calmly while watching the nervous Jae-sung. Jae-sung sits on the bed, feeling uneasy about the glowing potion. The mysterious potion gives off a sudden, powerful jolt of energy. Jae-sung stutters while trying to process the strange item's power. Jae-hyun gives a knowing smirk as he watches Jae-sung's reaction. Jae-sung suddenly realizes something shocking about the potion. He asks if a permanent stat increase is truly possible. Jae-hyun watches him closely, waiting for his next move. Jae-sung begins to analyze the potion with deep focus. Jae-hyun is surprised by Jae-sung's sudden display of brilliant insight. Jae-sung has stopped stuttering and accurately figured out the elixir's recipe. Jae-hyun smiles, clearly impressed by the hidden talent he just witnessed. Jae-sung looks up in total shock, eyes wide with sudden realization. He whispers the word spring while processing the complex alchemical formula. Jae-hyun grabs Jae-sung's shoulders, promising to support his growth. Jae-hyun admits that while other alchemists could brew the elixir, they lack Jae-sung's special touch. He believes Jae-sung has unique, untapped potential that will surpass all rivals.
Jae-hyun stares intently, fully convinced of his assessment. Jae-sung feels overwhelmed, barely managing to confirm he is okay. He looks down, still struggling to process the sudden praise. Jae-sung asks if Jae-hyun is really okay with helping him this much. Jae-hyun confirms his intent to invest in Jae-sung's future. Jae-sung chokes up, deeply moved by the unexpected kindness. Jae smiles and admits he cannot brew potions, putting his full trust in Stanley instead. Stanley gets teary-eyed when he hears Jae expressing so much confidence in him. Jae gives him an encouraging smile to reassure him about the task. Bright sunlight streams through the bedroom window into the quiet room. Later, Stanley sits quietly on his bed and reflects on what happened. He turns his gaze forward, deeply touched by Jae's kind words. He remembers Jae telling him that making mistakes while learning is totally fine. Stanley realizes no one in his entire life has ever shown him such genuine trust before. Tears well up in his eyes as painful memories from his childhood flood back. He remembers losing his mother early and being forced to carry heavy burdens alone. His strict father, Umin, always looked down on him and called him a failure. Determined not to fail, Stanley vows to do his best for the one who trusts him. Those kind words were the first time anyone had ever shown true faith in Stanley. Stanley sheds a tear as he struggles to understand why Jae trusts him so deeply. He remembers crying alone as a boy, deeply hurt by his father's constant cold criticism. Meanwhile, a quest screen pops up to remind Jae about his upcoming trial from hell. The clock keeps ticking down, leaving Jae with less than 50 days to defeat Nightshade. Weeks pass quickly during his training, leaving him with only 18 days remaining. Finally, only 10 days remain before his deadly quest deadline arrives. Jae trains relentlessly, dodging sharp, magical spikes shooting through the air. He keeps his eyes fixed forward as a powerful blast of magic swirls in front of him. His skilled training partner Ellen smiles playfully while casting magic during their intense sparring match. A bright flash of energy shoots past, but Jae dodges it effortlessly. Jae dashes forward at lightning speed, ready to deliver a swift counterattack. Sharp energy attacks slice through the air toward Jae at incredible speed. Jae quickly summons a magical shield, but the heavy blows cause it to crack. The powerful energy shatters Jae's defense into glowing fragments. Jae watches closely as his broken shield dissolves into the air. Without hesitation, Jae activates his Holy Arrow skill to launch a counterattack. A barrage of glowing light arrows slams directly into Nightshade's barrier. The heavy impact of Jae's spell begins to crack her strong force field. Nightshade looks on in surprise as her defense starts to weaken. Covered in sweat, Jae wipes his face while catching his breath. The two fighters stand across from each other as smoke settles on the field. Jae keeps his eyes locked on his opponent, ready for the next exchange. Nightshade locks her eyes onto Jae as the tension in the arena reaches its peak. Jae surges with intense yellow lightning energy, glowing with fierce determination. Nightshade smiles calmly while swirling blue magical energy around her hand. Jae readies his lightning magic while Nightshade focuses her concentrated blue spell. A massive energy wave erupts across the the room as their high-level spells collide.
Suitman speaks up, expressing his deep gratitude to Jay after the intense clash. Suitman looks down in shock, sweating at the overwhelming power displayed during training. The super tough aura floor is left completely cracked and shattered from the impact. Jay takes a sip from his water bottle as his electrical aura slowly fades away. Nightshade smiles warmly and praises Jay for growing at an astonishing rate. Jay wipes his mouth politely and acknowledges his instructor's high praise. Nightshade happily claps her hands together, clearly impressed with Jay's continuous progress. Jay remembers Ivy's silly antics, acknowledging her guidance behind his growth.
Nightshade asks Jay if he really intends to clear the dangerous dungeon next. Jay nods, stating that now is the perfect time to test his new strength. Nightshade smirks and encourages him to go ahead and give it a shot. Jay reminds himself to remain cool-headed and strategic before taking his next step. He reflects on how a C-rank dungeon boss like Nightshade once seems completely unbeatable. Defeating such a terrifying boss would have been completely impossible for him in the past. Jay slaps both of his cheeks hard to hype himself up and stay focused. With sharp, determined eyes, he prepares his mind for whatever challenge lies ahead.
Suitman steps forward and presents Jay with a special wooden box. Jay smiles in satisfaction as he looks at the reward presented to him. Jay inspects a magic boost elixir crafted by a highly skilled alchemist. Carl hands over the special potion he spent so much effort crafting. A system notification confirms that Jay has taken the magic boost elixir. Glowing blue magic surrounds Jay as the elixir takes effect inside him. His status screen reveals that his mana stat permanently increased by 15 points. Jay is completely shocked by how much stronger he suddenly feels. He turns toward Carl, who is nodding off from complete exhaustion.
Jay thinks about how difficult and delicate the practice of alchemy is. Carl covers his mouth and lets out a big yawn after finishing his work. Jay knows that the potion's quality depends entirely on the alchemist's true skill. He realizes that no ordinary alchemist could have boosted his mana by 15 points. Jay grins proudly at Carl and commends him for his amazing work. Carl blushes modestly and thanks Jay for putting so much faith in his work. Rubbing his sleepy eyes, Carl promises to craft even more potions whenever Jay needs them. Jay heads out with a serious look, leaving Carl behind in the lab. Suddenly, a system window pops up displaying a countdown timer with under 10 days remaining. Meanwhile, deep inside a dark and shadowy domain, a sinister voice speaks. A clawed hand softly strokes the red fur of a giant hound named Garm. The horned goddess Hel smirks evilly, eager to welcome her upcoming visitor.
If you want part 2 of this video, drop a comment, and at 1,000 likes, I'll release part 2. Tell us in the comments how much you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching, and please subscribe for part 2.